Hi, guys. Thank you for the wait. Please let me know where you're dialing in from, where you're zooming from. Australia, Austria, Italy, Dubai, Germany. Very global, as always. Welcome, welcome. Latvia,
Awesome.
Brazil, Netherlands. Please mute yourself. Oh my God, little Freya. Hi. Ah, I love when you guys join as a family. It's like so special to me. Little Freya's gonna get her money education early in life. Oh, wonderful. All right, we're gonna get started in just a second. Hello, Boston, Croatia, Spain, Vancouver. It is such a joy for me to see so many of you here today. I see some familiar faces. I see some new faces. It is very nice to meet you if this is your first digital experience with me, other than YouTube or Instagram. And if you've known me for some time, welcome back, family. Sergey, would it be possible to maybe mute everyone? Um,
Yes, working on it right
Working
now.
on it. Okay.
Mm, for some reason, I cannot see this option right now.
Yeah, me either.
So
Something is
strange.
going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just make sure you guys mute yourself.
Yes. All right. Well, we're going to get started in just a second here. Sergey, who I'm referring to as my husband, he's on the line here with us to help take care of the technical things to make sure that we have a very productive time today. We're going to start by me sharing some of my insights with you guys. I'll share a presentation in just a moment here. And then towards the end of our time together, we are going to go through a journey, a healing journey. This is an intuitive journey. It's a channel journey. This is what I do best. This is my favorite thing to do. The journeys that I host are always based on what spirit wants to give. So this means that all of you have shown up here with a request. Obviously, this is a webinar about money. So I understand that this is front and center in your minds. So Spirit is going to be working with all of us today, making sure that the blockages that need to be removed are removed. I'm an energy healer first and foremost, so I work at the level of energy. Although today, during our time together, we will be working with your mental constructs as well as your emotions, all of the things that have to do with money, wealth, abundance. All right. Again, if you haven't muted yourself, please do so. And Sergey, let me know if you need help at all.
No, no help, but I still cannot find this option, but we can keep going.
Yeah, the recording is still not on.
Um, it is working for me.
Is it?
Yeah. Mhm.
That is so weird. Okay, good.
Hey Mariya,
Hi,
great.
hi. Hello. I love
Expressing my
Greece.
unconditional love and muting. Yeah, my love, sorry. Don't
Thank
let
you and
people say my
welcome.
love.
Yes, welcome, welcome. All right, my darlings, if the recording is on, because I know that some people are going to be only able to watch that, I'll share my screen. Please let me know if you can see the slides. If you can give me a plus or something. Okay, wonderful. All right, we're ready to dive in. I will be able to see some of your questions, not all. So when I'm in the flow, when I'm just talking to you about money in this case, I will be very focused on what Spirit wants to send through me over to you today. But that being said, I will still eventually or at some point glance at the chat. So please don't be discouraged. If you feel like you've asked the question, I'm not getting back to you, I'll do my best. But of course, the journey has already been determined by Spirit for all of us. So thank you for being here. I thought we would start not with the three major forces blocking your money flow, We're going to start with some of the rules of money, some of my personal insights that I've learned over the years, that I've practiced over the years. I am a practicing entrepreneur. I practice what I preach. For me, spirit and my spiritual awakening has really coincided with my process of growing a company. And because of that, very often, as I would be stuck within a particular call it facet of my journey, spirit would reach out and give me a helping hand, which is how a lot of my insights were originally born. They're really not my insights. Sergey, can you hear that background?
Sergey, can you hear that? Sorry. Guys, make sure you mute yourself.
Yeah, we usually don't have this, but
yeah, first time.
Yeah. Apologies for all the technical glitches. Apparently, just so you guys know, when there are big interferences in the field like that, like what we have today, it is because the topic that I'm teaching is very, very important for the collective, believe it or not. And it is because some of you have resistance to healing around this, ironically. Now, I know you have shown up here because you're committed to healing and because you're committed to your next level. Like, I know that in my heart of hearts. But when we're getting a lot of technical glitches, I know it is because the field is coming up with a lot of resistance, which is good news. That means that you are in the right place. And that means that whatever you're going to hear and walk away with from this experience is important to you. So I trust that it's all, divinely guided. All right. Let's talk about the insights of the rules of money. They're going to be in no particular order. It's not like the first rule that I voice is the most important. They're in no particular order. And by the way, I could probably write like a trilogy of books on the rules of money, just because of how deeply I studied the subject. The rules that you see here today, some of the insights, are specifically relevant to this group that is going to show up because I always channel in accordance with, I guess, who we are receiving as a group, right? So the spirit guides are giving very specific things, right? So that's that. The rule number one, settling for less. Yeah, let's start there. We're always paid in alignment with what we accept. We rarely get paid a dime or a cent more. This means that wherever you are in your current income, wherever you are with money right now, at one point you accepted this reality. At one point, with your sovereignty, with your consciousness, you said yes. Like, it makes sense to me that I will be making this much money. Now, what I find when I work with people, and what I also find when I just observe the collective, is most people are settling way before exhausting all available options to them when it comes to money. It's almost like we live into a particular blueprint or template as a society. And we're like, okay, maybe this is what I went to school for. That's going to be my job. This is what this job pays. This is it. In fact, one thing that I've learned about the energy of money is it's a lot more malleable than we give it the credit for. Your particular skill set may be worth something on the market, but it doesn't mean that that is what you are going to be earning. And one thing that I want you to remember, and one thing that I want you to walk away with from this meeting, is remembering your own power, remembering that you are the one that actually at one point created this reality for yourself. So whatever you're earning right now, you are the creator of this reality, which means that you can uncreate it, you can recreate it, you can shift it. The puck starts and ends with you, always, always. There's nobody else. There's no big market that determines your salary or your pay or the amount of money in your bank account. There is no, I don't know, force majeure or will of God. It's actually a very material world. And so we come here very often to figure out the material things, of which money is just one example. And remember, whatever you're earning right now, at one point, you accepted your current reality. So how do we get out of this, right? Again, back into like by dropping into our power, by remembering that if the amount of money that I have in my life is actually the result of me accepting that this is my worth, or this is my value, or this is the status quo, or this is just how it is, then I can always be like, you know what? I'm going to replay this game. I'm going to completely remodel this castle that I built up about myself. And I'm going to reach out for something that's bigger, better, and higher. So it actually truly does always start with you. It always starts with you actually starting to be dissatisfied with where you are right now and being like, you know what? I'm a child of God. Why cannot I be making more? If that is your desire as a child of God, you should be able to manifest more unless there are some roadblocks in your way. We're going to talk a lot about roadblocks in the last part of our meeting today, but we're also going to talk a little bit about roadblocks on our journey through the rules of money. I remember back in college, for some reason the story like needs to be heard. I remember back in college, my girlfriend and I wanted to start a business, and things were really, really, really hard because you're in college and you're still figuring stuff out. And we were really on our last dime. Like we were trying things out, and we gave up a lot of different jobs. And meaning like we pass on opportunities because we're like, we're going to work on this business together. When we started getting really, really low in cash, she freaked out. And she was my best friend at the time. So for me, it was, she meant the world. And she went ahead and she got a job for minimum wage because that was the only thing that could give her the sense of safety at the time. And she spent crazy hours working a minimum wage job, actually having given up on our business, saying, Mariya, I just can't handle the amount of stress that you can. I don't know how you're like so broke and so carefree. She's like, I just don't understand your mentality. And what I could not understand is her mentality, because I couldn't understand how somebody as bright as she is, as talented as she is, somebody who was clear in my eyes was meant to be an entrepreneur, I couldn't understand how she could settle for a minimum wage job. I just couldn't understand that. And it took her years, actually, for her to get out of that minimum wage scenario and understand that she's bigger than that. And all the meantime, I committed to my entrepreneurial journey. It wasn't with her, it was with some other people, but I persevered. And listen, sitting here in front of you, I'll be the first one to admit that I do actually have a high tolerance for uncertainty as a human being. It just happens so that I can look uncertainty in the eye and be completely okay with that. And be completely okay that I don't know where my, money for my food is going to come tomorrow. I've always been okay with that, weirdly as that. Now, I also come from a family of very, very modest means. So it's not like, growing up, I wouldn't want to call our state complete poverty, but it wasn't, far removed from that. And by American standards, it certainly was poverty. And so in a way, it made me very resilient. And in a way, it made me who I am today, because I'm just not afraid to be without money, because I know life is still there without money. Like there are other things that, are perhaps more important. But we're going back to this rule number one. Settling for less is what I see is probably the most important culprit that keeps humanity broke. Because we settle too early. In fact, we call it quits too early, right? In fact, we're not going to exhaust all of our options sometimes because money is so intrinsically connected with safety. We grab the thing that is closest to us that's going to give back that semblance of safety. And what I'm telling you is true abundance lies beyond that. It lies beyond survival. And so sometimes you're going to have to be like, you know what? I'm not going to reach out to this closest thing to me right now, this closest opportunity, this most obvious choice. And I'm going to try to think outside of the box. And it always starts with you actually believing that you deserve more and then actively seeking out ways of how you could be making more money, if that is your intention and outcome. One thing that I have found to be helpful is every time in my youth when I did not have money and wanted money, or when I was trying to level up financially, the thing that helped me the most was to talk to the richest person I knew. Like, see if they would spend 15 minutes with me, 10 minutes with me. And I would talk to them and be like, hey, what do you think my options are? Like, what would you do if you were me? Like, how would you be making money? And I found that those were almost the most enlightening conversations. Yes, very simple mentorship, but the way rich people think about money is not how the rest of us think about money. They see opportunity when most people see a roadblock. It's also not obvious, but when I was younger, I was taking a lot of advice from a lot of people, including financial. And it all changed for me when at one point this one woman gave me this advice around not starting my own company. She's like, Mariya, you don't know any better. Like, you should not be an entrepreneur. You should go and work for like a proper business. Like, I don't know, I was interested in beauty at the time. So she told me, go work for L'Oreal, get a job at like, whatever, front desk. And then eventually in like 10, 15 years, you're going to get somewhere. And I went to my other mentor and I was crying because I was like, oh my God, she completely broke my heart because I actually held this woman in high regard. She was not an entrepreneur, but she was working in finance in New York. And she was, very well off. And this person told me, my mentor, he told me, Mariya, only take advice from the person that has what you want to have. Don't take advice from the person that doesn't have what you want to have. So if this woman is not an entrepreneur, she's never built a company in her life, why do you trust her around how companies are built? And that was a very, very important piece of advice for me. I always double check who is in front of me when they're giving me advice. So if the person sitting in front of you giving you advice does not have what you want, perhaps they're not the person to listen to. Oh gosh, somebody's asking, what are some of the things you learned back then? What haven't I learned back then? I learned so much, you guys. I learned to follow my heart. I learned that God is always on my side. I learned to believe that even when I'm on my last dollar, God always has a plan for me. All of these things. I learned to never give up on myself. I learned to stand up and fight when things got hard. I learned that the darkest hour is right before the dawn. Like when I felt like my business was about to collapse, there was always that silver lining or saving grace that emerged from this. I learned that um, my character was really built through turmoil. And in fact, the biggest crisis or crises that I had as an entrepreneur built me up. And when it feels like the world is collapsing, that's actually when the world is recalibrating to build itself back up. Yeah, totally a tangent, you guys. So I was not planning on going here, but who knows? It was a personal story that felt like coming up. Long story short, realize that if you are making less money than you would like to, it is because at one point you said, I'm okay with that. So start getting busy, getting unokay with that, and being like, you know what? I deserve more. I'm ready. It's time. Because nothing will be able to hold you back if you just decide. The second rule, outflows versus inflows. Most people spend their energy managing the outflow, not the inflow. So essentially, people focus on the wrong thing. Let me rephrase that. Most people, when they think about money, instead of thinking and focusing on the surplus of like, okay, how could I be making more? How could I get this additional extra skill sets or what have you? Or how could I put myself in front of the right people so I could be making more money, right? Or how do I ask for that raise? Or how do I make sure I get my bonus? Or whatever that is. Like all of that in my mind is an inflow or the surplus. People are managing the outflow. So they're managing, they're like, okay, how can I save more? Oh my God, those bills are coming. And then they just start feeling anxious about the outflow. They're like, okay, should I be shopping on discounts? Like all of these things, right? And the way you think about it is like if you have 100% of capacity to think about money, right? If less than 80% of that capacity, you're not thinking about inflow, meaning of how to get more, but instead you're focusing on what's coming out, you're focusing on the wrong thing, really on the wrong thing. I have this friend of mine. It's like so fun. I had this friend of mine who was chit-chatting with me about my business. And she was like, Maria, oh my God. She's like, what happens when your business gets big? Like, do people start suing you? She's like, do you have to pay all of these legal fees? And like, do you have to pay taxes? And I'm like, yeah, you do. The bigger your business gets, the more expenses you have. Like, yes, you're gonna have to pay accountants, you're gonna have to pay consultants, you're gonna have to obviously pay employees. And yes, people come out of the woodworks and sometimes they sue you, and that is also okay. And she was like, I don't know. She's like, I'm so worried about being sued one day that I don't even want to build my business up. So she was paralyzed by her fear of like one day, if like in her mind, she was like, if I ever were to get like a big business, somebody would come after my money. And that was so prevalent in her field that she was her own roadblock towards growing her company because she just didn't want to deal with people coming after her, including the government for taxes. Like, she's like, I just want to run an unprofitable company all day, every day. And I'm like, yeah, but you're limiting your own potential. That is an example of like somebody focusing on the outflow, like somebody taking a piece of my pie, somebody taking away something from me. This was something that I totally remember I did back in college when I was broke. I remember dreading the bills arriving in the mail, like dreading. And I'm like, what do you mean? Condé Nast wants a piece of my paycheck. Like, and obviously it's expected. Like, you're gonna have to pay for electricity and rent and whatnot, but it still every time came with like a heartache. It's like a stab in the chest of like by a bill. And I realized how I was completely focused on the wrong thing. And now, I don't know if you guys read this book, The Secret. At one point, at least when I was back in college, it was like the hottest book. And I really like that like shift in perspective. This woman who wrote the book, she proposed that if bills really get to you, like if they really freak you out, like they did for me, she's like, imagine it's actually a check from the universe. Like pretend you're actually being paid by the universe in the same amount that you're being asked to give. And yeah, I know it's kind of like a little bit of a weird technique, but it did work for me. And I was like, at least I started, like, I stopped being scared of those bills and I started shifting a little bit by little my perspective on money, right? And so it's in the small things like that, in managing the inflows. Now, you may be thinking to yourself right now, okay, easy for you to say, Maria. When you were broke, you were thinking about saving money. When you were broke, you were feeling anxious about bills. When you were broke, you probably shopped on discount. Yes, I did. And you're not going to get from zero to hero in a quick second. It is a process. So be gentle with yourself and realize that going back to my example with like, if you have 100% of capacity, like, or like if all of the time that you spend thinking about money was 100%, right? Even if today 80% is you thinking about how can you cut expenses, how can you start saving for that trip, or how can you start saving for your kids' college education or what have you. If and maybe that's 80% of your worry right now. Even if that shifts to 70, then to 60, then to 50, you've already won, right? Because unless you start thinking about the inflow of like, how can I get more? Where is more going to come from? You're always going to be in the rat race. The bills are always going to run faster than you will. Today, and I am, listen, it's been a journey for me, right? So it's been what? How many years? Almost 20 years, right? Of me, of this transformation from struggling to thriving. I don't really think about the outflows, or I barely think about the outflows. And if I were to like give you the percentages of my brain capacity, 99% of the time I'm thinking about inflow of like on behalf of my company, how can we grow? What is a new distribution channel, et cetera, et cetera. I'm thinking about the outflow about 1% of the time. Somebody's like, how old are you? 20 years. No, it wasn't 20 years since I've been in college. I barely look 30. Thank you. I'm older than 30. But I'll take that. Yes. Um, yeah, it's been a long road, but I have certainly transformed like being worried about money like 90% of the time to pretty much never being worried about money and always thinking about the inflow. And it is a journey and you chip away at it, right? But for now, if you are in the dark, like in the darkness still and like not really sure how you're gonna climb out of it. Just allow yourself to dream. That's the first step. Allow yourself to dream and be like, what if? What I believe about money, that it's, a scarce resource, that even if you have it's taken away from you, what if that's not true? What if the story of like the limiting story around money that I've been telling myself, what if that is not true? And what if I have the ability to dream and then start dreaming about like, well, first, what would you buy if you had the money? And then, so essentially focus on the positive, right? And then, yes, it is your job to think about how you can get more. Like, what else is something that you accepted as a status quo that's actually completely optional? Completely optional. And yes, it is completely normal. Even if you are at, I don't know, minimum wage right now, it is okay to start thinking about what it is that you would like to be making. At one point, I was really obsessed with how can I make $100 an hour? That was the big dream. And it took me a while to figure it out. And I had to speak to a lot of very smart people, but I got there eventually. And, it was a while ago, but still, it was like a big milestone for me at one point. So that is all to say, focus on the inflow, right? How can you get more instead of how can you cut spending? How can you pay less? Let's get to the next one. Of course, my mouse just died. Why wouldn't it? Oh, you guys. Technology is really on fire today. One second. In order to flip the slide, I need my mouse back in the game. Come on, mouse. No, still nothing. We're going to be here for just a quick second. And I can't even read your notes because I cannot scroll anything. Can you believe this? I can't.
Technology stuff. Yeah, they changed, Zoom changed their design, so I couldn't find how to mute people.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
happening? Okay, the mouse is back in commission. Okay, rule 3, money is water. So a lot of things changed for me when I realized money is water. Like, and when it's like this river, right? And it flows like water. And so as much as, in the early days when you just start getting it, you want to hold on to it, you really can, because like money is always going to slip through your fingers. It loves movement, it strives on expansion, and it's coded to grow. When you are constraining your money, such as placing everything in your savings account and like being worried that like, about losing it, it begins to wither. Now, this is probably true even mostly true once you start accumulating a little bit in, a little bit of cash in your bank account, in your coffers, right? So what is this here to represent? Despite the fact that I told you focus on the inflow, you're still continuing to spend, right? And that is precisely what money is meant to do. Money is meant to be invested and money is meant to be spent. When you're trying to create constrictions in the flow of money by saving too much, the opposite happens. It's like the money almost doesn't want to flow to you. It wants to flow away. It's very counterintuitive because it feels intuitively, or like it's almost like it's so ingrained in us that, well, technically, if I save my money, then I have more money. Wrong. Wrong. Because in essence, you are forbidding the water to flow. If I just put my money into like a little cup like that and let it sit, it would either evaporate, because with time water would evaporate from my cup, or it might get dank. Like if this cup of water was sitting somewhere on a side table for like 2 weeks, and if it didn't evaporate, you probably wouldn't want to drink from this because it wouldn't be the purest quality of water. So the same thing is true about money. Money likes to move. Money likes to be circulated. Currency, right? Current. It's even in the words, right? It's meant to flow. Which is not to say, right, that the fastest way towards making money is spending all that you have. You know why? Because if you spend everything that you have and nothing is coming in, then of course you are in a very detrimental emotional state. You're in anxiety, probably you're worried. That doesn't help money get attracted to you either. Because money, as water reacts to your emotions. It reacts to your emotional body. That being said, everybody who's ever had money will tell you that the way you have more is by putting the money to work. It's like making sure it's not stagnant in the system. Of course, when you have a lot of money, it's investments. Sometimes, actually, believe it or not, all of these very rich people have all of these foundations that you think are for charity because they want to be good guys. Turns out that's not the case. A lot of them just understand that by donating a lot of money, money is going to come back to them. That's that. That's really, I mean, this is probably one of the easier ones. So we're going to move forward to the next one. Money is also consciousness. These two rules are kind of tied to the hip together, rule 3 and rule 4. Money is a consciousness. It reacts to your emotions. And like I said, it's connected to water. So think about this, and this is a test that I want you to do. Does your body contract or expand when you think about money? And in fact, here's what, I want to try something with you real quick. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for me for a quick second. Just close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, I'm going to ask you to feel the energy of money coming towards you. Whatever that looks like to you, like a stream. The energy of money coming towards you. And then it gets into your auric field, really close. And then more and more and more and more and more and more money comes. How does your body feel? Like, how does your body feel? Does your body feel good, expanded, like ready to go, like, yay, money, hello? Or does your body feel like, oh my God, this is gross? Or like, why is there so much money? I don't know, I feel uncomfortable. I feel a lot of discomfort in this group. And this is just a simple exercise of like you feeling the stream of money coming towards you, right? If you are sitting in the discomfort, feel how much your emotional body is actually repelling money. Because if money is a consciousness, right? It's almost like another being. How would you feel if somebody felt towards you the same way you feel about money? Would you want to get closer to them, or would you want to get further away? It's ironic, but if you love money, money loves you. If you have a lot of discomfort with money, money has a lot of discomfort around you. Yeah, somebody's like tightness in the chest, stomach discomfort. That's all different ways of facets of not feeling good around money. And by the way, money knows exactly, because by now it has already come in contact with you many times over, right? And so it knows exactly how it feels in your aura. It knows exactly how it feels in your field. And if it doesn't feel too good because you don't feel too good, it's going to start avoiding you. It's like a relationship. So stop thinking of money as something that is inanimate, because it is a consciousness. It is a being. And you could have a conversation with it if you wanted it to. You could ask the money how it feels about you or why there hasn't been more in your life. Yeah. I know a lot of feelings. Some of you feel good around money. That's great. But there's always a ceiling. There's always that comfort level. And if you go above your ceiling, all of a sudden it's going to start feeling uncomfortable, right? So perhaps the money stream that you felt was just something that you're comfortable receiving, but there's always going to be that, at which point it's going to start feeling really, really uncomfortable. So what is the money really reacting to? And what are all of these things that you guys have been feeling, like the overwhelm, the neck pain, all of the things in your stomach, their eyes started tearing, all of these things, right? And I know some of you had, a great experience, and more power to you, and that's amazing. That means that you already are in a good spot and you can only get better from here. But all of these tightness, wherever it is, that is actually a sign of trauma that your body is holding on to as it relates to money. If it's the tightness in the chest, it's something that has to do with a heart trauma around money. For example, I don't know, somehow, some way, whether for your lineage or in a past life, your heart got broken because of money. If it's the tightness in the chest, which is your center of identity, most likely you got murdered for money in a past life. And so that is where the tightness is coming from, right? Money has existed as a means of energy exchange for millennia. And as we come and incarnate over and over and over again on planet Earth, some of our most traumatic experiences in past lives are connected to money. Your body still remembers, which is why when you come in contact with this energy, you're going to start feeling something. And by the way, even if you feel completely comfortable, there's probably something in the background that still can be worked on. It's just you haven't dug deep enough. Or, I haven't given you an amount of money that's going to trigger something. Meaning, I could be like, imagine $1 billion floating to you. A lot of you would be a hell lot of uncomfortable with that. They'll be like, oh my God, no, please take that, right? So it also does depend on how much money is coming your way. Yeah. Guys, if you feel the tightness, if you feel headaches and even pain in the eye, I have some good news for you. The good news is that's why we have a journey later today, right? That's why we have a journey, a meditation, an exercise, a practice, right? I'm not going to leave you hanging here with all of your phantom pains. But one thing that you have to understand is your body is so intuitive. So it's already telling you what the treasure chest inside of you is. And it shows through tightness. And it shows through pain sometimes, or like these tingles or what have you, right? Like just like when something just doesn't feel quite right. It's your body reacting to the frequency and the energy of money. Yeah. Somebody's unease is a bit of a shock. Yeah. All of these, feelings, sensations are valid. Your body is talking to you. So hear it out. These are not new symptoms. It's just they have been with you since you were born, most likely. It's just right now they're coming to the surface to be healed. That's the good news, right? Your body is showing you like this is something to worry about. This is something to pay attention to because that is the culprit. All right. Core belief. Your core belief around money overshadows everything else. It will be that like almost like the tree trunk upon which everything else grows. If your core belief around money is negative or neutral, it quietly limits the entire system. Somebody was saying that they feel neutral around money. They don't feel good, they don't feel bad. Neutral is better than negative, but neutral is not positive yet, right? Let's really quickly diagnose your core belief. If you have a piece of paper, make sure you have a piece of paper or like a phone or whatever you can make notes handy. I'm going to take you really quickly into the right place with your eyes closed. Somebody's asking if this is being recorded. Yes, it is being recorded, and you guys can rewatch it after. Don't worry. Just be in the moment with me today. Close your eyes really quickly. I'm going to take you into your core belief because it's easy to say that your core belief is like in charge of your money concept. And most people are like, well, I'm not sure what my core belief is around money. So we're going to unearth your core belief around money. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to see a big tree in front of you. Big tree, emerald leaves. The money tree, they say. I want you to go down underneath the tree. And notice that there's actually a treasure chest underneath the tree. And like take that treasure chest out from underneath the tree. Take it out. Inside of that chest is your core belief around money, upon which your money tree grows. It is something that is an axiom for you. It is something that you would never doubt. It is something that you would never question because it has been with you for ages. Open up the lid of that treasure chest. And you will notice inside an object. This object represents your core belief around money. And now you're going to open your eyes and you're going to let your hand decode what that core belief is and simply write it down on a piece of paper in front of you. What is your core belief around money, having received it already? What is it? Don't question what your hand wants to write. If you don't know, just let your hand know and write it down, right? So you took an object, but this object is actually a mental construct. Write that down on a piece of paper. Yeah, somebody says I'm not enough. That is a core belief around money. I'm not enough is a core belief around money. I have to work hard to make money. What are some of the other ones in the field? Work hard. Money is violence. That's right. Women receive more. Money is empty, unreachable. There's not enough for me. I haven't done enough to deserve it. I'm not deserving. Money is death. Look at who died for money. If money equals death, you died for money multiple times. Money is dangerous. You got hurt for money. There will never be enough. Money is scary. Money doesn't grow on trees. Exactly. All of the good things. Money equals death of the loved ones. For some of you, these beliefs are going to be like, okay, duh, I believe that. And for others, it's going to be like, really? I believe that? That's the core belief? Excuse me. What do you mean money means death for my relatives? That is always a sign of past life trauma. Like you've lived it. Your body lived it. You remember. And in this lifetime, you're going to be reliving that trauma. Somebody says money is not important to me. Okay, that's also interesting. Now, I want you to notice though, really quickly, if you close your eyes, right? Because you've found your core belief. For a lot of you, it's a negative core belief, right? It's not like money is everywhere, I'm abundant and God loves me. Like that's not most of your core beliefs around money. I want you to notice because this belief is in the foundation of your tree. What kind of tree is growing from that core belief? And is it the mightiest tree that could be growing? Like what kind of frequency, what kind of trunk, what kind of branches does this belief create? And you'll be able to see that very clearly, or feel that. Like, ooh, when that grows into my tree, it's so uncomfortable, like my tree is withering. My tree is not as fruitful as it can be. Yes, because a negative belief, core belief around money is poisonous. It's like poison to your system. Yeah, a withering tree. Now, your tree may still be beautiful, but here's what I would like for you to imagine. What if you take that belief out and like place it, like remove that? If it's a negative core belief, if it's a positive belief like money is everywhere, keep it. Don't change it, right? If you don't love your core belief around money, gently remove it from under the tree. And imagine that in front of you there is a recycling chamber. That recycling chamber usually looks like a white box or a container of some sort, or portal. And drop that negative belief into that chamber. Just drop it there. And some of you may notice that, ooh, it's like this belief somehow has like roots and like it got really deeply rooted underneath the tree. So start removing those roots and like drop them into the recycling chamber with the rest of the negative core belief. And almost feel like how this portal of the recycling chamber sucks out all of that energy. Takes all of that energy from underneath your tree, so now there is empty space. The good news about energy work is that you get to rewrite your own future. You get to rewrite your core beliefs because you are a sovereign being. As a sovereign being, you get to change things up how they fit you. So how about this? Why don't you pick a new belief for yourself? Something that you would like to believe about money. Something that's going to be a lot more positive. And it can be anything. Just think of that sentence right now. And if you have a piece of paper handy, I want you to write it down on that piece of paper. Like, my new core belief around money is XYZ. And now, if this core belief was an object, close your eyes and imagine what object it would be. And now take that object and place that inside of the treasure chest that now remains empty. Place that inside of your treasure chest. And close the lid. Close the lid and place that underneath the tree, exactly where it belongs. And feel how this new core belief starts radiating light. Starts radiating light. And that light starts fueling the trunks of the tree. And your tree starts to grow, 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 become more and more beautiful. Maybe there are new fruits upon the tree. And it's just shifting. This entire tree is shifting. It's growing taller. Your money tree is becoming mightier. If it had any dark leaves, all of the leaves are turning green or whatever color feels better to you. Somebody, yes, if it's turning gold, that's beautiful. Gold is also the color of abundance. And just let it be absorbed into your tree. Yes, and a lot of you are noticing how the tree's changing, all of the flowers and the fruit. That is how it's meant to feel. Beautiful. I love all of your comments, my darlings. I love that you're so on top of this and sharing with the community. Beautiful. All right, that's how we work with beliefs. Obviously, there are a lot of beliefs around money that you have. And by the way, you can rewrite them in much similar ways. So if there are other beliefs that are staring you at you in the face right now, once this is done and over with, you can literally pluck themselves from your consciousness, send them to a recycling chamber. And write the new one where that old belief was. By the way, the recycling chamber is now opening up, and your energy that you just put in there has already been recycled. So that negative belief that is actually your energy is coming back. It's just a positive little whiff of air or frequency back into your body. So you don't leave anything accidentally behind. We want to make sure that your energy remains intact, even as you're doing this work with me. All right, moving on. Capacity. This is only maybe one of my favorite things and one of the harder things to shift. You only receive and keep as much money as your body feels safe holding, not a dollar more. Capacity is everything. You often inherit it. It's something that usually you are born having the same capacity as your ancestors. Case in point. Over time, though, right, because we all have agency, we all are living human beings, we have an ability to shift and evolve from there. Capacity is usually very similar to your comfort level. For example, if you think of all the money you make on a monthly or an annual basis, however you want to think about it. And when I say all of the money, it's really all of the money. Like the salaries, all of your businesses, all of your bonuses, all of your side hustles, and then even the random things like winning lotteries or like, I don't know, getting inheritances, all of these things. If you add all of this up, there's like a number. And that is usually the number that your body is comfortable with. That is your current capacity. Sometimes your capacity may be maybe about 20 to 30% higher than what you are currently receiving, but it's usually not much more high. Like it's not usually much higher than that, right? So essentially, if your body feels unsafe to hold $1 million for whatever reason, there's absolutely no way you're going to be able to attract $1 million. Your body is going to repel it 24/7. Literally, as you sleep, your body is going to be repelling $1 million. Now, $1 million is a very arbitrary number. Yours could be something else. For some of you, it's 10 million. For others, it's like 10,000. And that's okay. Like wherever you are today is okay. We all start somewhere, right? It's that we keep going that really determines how far we get. Oh my God, capacity is one of those things that is always something you work on. Capacity is something that my spirit guides worked with me on since my awakening. And usually, right, if you're trying to manifest $1 million, again, to use a random number, your capacity needs to be at least 2 million in my experience and in my from my perspective, in order for that million to really happen quickly and without much issue. Because if your capacity to receive is small, it's going to be very, very hard to fit something that's big inside of it. If your capacity to receive and hold is a lot bigger, then it's almost like, duh, of course the $1 million is going to flow through because it's so much easy for it. It's almost like, why wouldn't it? Capacity energetically looks like a container. Looks like a container. You can quickly close your eyes and see what yours looks like what your container looks like. And you can see, like, if your third eye is pretty on point, you'll be able to see, like, even the numbers, like, on top of the container, like, what is your current personal capacity, right? Capacity of your business is not the same thing as your personal capacity if you have a business. They are interconnected and interrelated, but you have your personal capacity for holding wealth. In order for you to start attracting more money, the first thing that you work on is your capacity. So you work on increasing that container. The challenge with that, though, is the moment you start increasing your container, your body, if you're very sensitive to it, is going to start resisting. Because there is a reason why your capacity is where it's at today. Because that is your threshold of safety. Bigger dollars or euros or whatever is your currency just doesn't feel safe for your body. So your capacity will remain in your safety zone. So how do you get outside of this capacity chokehold? Is by working through the parts of you that are resisting big dollars. And that is, by the way, a lot of this, what's constraining you, is going to be in our section later that we're going to talk about, which is going to be all about the 3 forces that are holding you back. Because a lot of these things are going to be holding you back, and there's so much in the background, there's so much in the subconscious that you would not even know that that is the thing that's holding you back. And yet it would be the thing that prevents you from growing. I don't know. Quick example. Say in a past lifetime, you got rich, and it was, I don't know, the equivalent of $1 million at the time. And when you got rich, somebody took your kid for ransom because they knew you were rich. A lot of people actually in this room have that trauma, believe it or not. And it's a much more common trauma than you would think. And so part of you starts equating $1 million to your kids being taken away from you and tortured. And you're like, hell no, there's absolutely no way $1 million is not worth my kid's life or their well-being. And so in this lifetime, you may be like, nope, not taking the money. In the meantime, not realizing it's actually all this past life stuff with your kids being abducted, taken away from your home, right? This is just a quick example, right? Not to say that this is your case, but this is to say that a lot of the phantoms that are holding you back are invisible. And they're hard to diagnose, but they're extremely real. And subconsciously, they guide your behavior, whether you know it or not. So at face value, you may be starting businesses, you may be working hard, you may be doing everything by the book, you may be getting all these extra degrees, whatever else you're doing for money. But if your body remembers the pain of your child being taken away because you had the money, whew, that needs to be addressed. My core belief is that abundance is everywhere. And in fact, this river of abundance is floating by you every minute of every hour of every day. It has always been there. And in fact, it's the most natural thing for us as children of God to receive. It is the barriers that we set against that receiving that ultimately prevent us from having it all. So by removing the barriers, essentially you start standing in that flow the most fearless way possible, and then things just start magnetizing to you, right? Which is why when I work with people around money, I remove the barriers. And there are as many barriers as there are people, by the way, because your unique set of circumstances in this life, your unique set of circumstances in the life of your ancestors, as well as your past lives. Yes, there are some commonalities, but they are so special and bespoke to you, right? Like your set of barriers may be uniquely your own. Pearl is asking me if I do one-on-one sessions. I indeed do one-on-one sessions, and we also have a friend of mine, Katya, on the website, and Marina that do one-on-one sessions. So they may be able to help you around your blocks with money as well, because this is sometimes very in-depth, very next-level things. And they're not necessarily on the surface. Yeah. All right, capacity. By the way, during Thrive, we work a lot on capacity. There's an entire session that I do, like an entire meditation session. I think it was like an hour and a half or 2 hours long last time, when we looked specifically into like your constraints or the group's constraints with money, and like we expanded capacity. But of course, expanding capacity only works when nothing is standing in the way, because I can increase or help you increase the size of the container. If there is something that you're still worried about or fearful of, it's going to shrink back, because your body is that wise and that intuitive. You cannot fool your body, because it actually remembers the things that you forgot as you were going through the veil of forgetfulness. Yeah. So we work a lot on capacity. All right. Rule 7. Money exists at the intersection of self-worth and value. So it's almost like a convergence of these two, right? Self-worth, obviously what you believe you deserve, and value, the impact and contribution you bring to society. I found that if you work on just one, or if you just work on the other, money's not necessarily going to stream down. Both needs to be worked on in parallel. Yes, there is 100% correlation between how you think of yourself, like your worth in this world. By the way, the strength of your solar plexus chakra, that is where self-worth lives, your yellow center in your belly. There's a huge correlation between the strength of that and how much money you can make in the world. And by the way, I channeled an entire book on money and manifestation. And a lot of it is on amplifying that yellow center, like your inner masculine, because you inherited from your father and the men before him in the lineage. So essentially, in some ways, your self-worth comes from your father's self-worth. And then from there, you're going to build it up or tear it down. Value is the impact and contribution you make to the world. So in a way, the more value you bring, the higher your income is going to be always. When I say value, that's a little bit of, call it a very general term. So let's try to dissect it. What does value really mean? It's the impact of your interactions with the work that you do in the world, in the sense that either you serve a lot of people and you do a little bit for a lot of people, or you do a whole lot for very few people and they really value that. Sergey, I don't know if we can remove this like beautiful art on the slide. Thank you.
Yeah, please don't play with drawing.
An artist is coming through. It could be a sign. Somebody needs to make money with art. Anyway, so I always ask myself, as remember that first principle, or it was the second principle, focus on the inflows, not the outflows. When I think about the inflows, I always think, how can I serve more people? How can I serve more people? That is just the question that I ask myself. I'm not saying this is the right question for you. I'm just only sharing my experience. This is a question that I ask myself. How can I serve more people? How can I put out products, services, I don't know, workshops that are more helpful or as helpful as they can be? So that is what I'm obsessed with. How can I serve more people? How can I make more of a difference in their lives? That is not the only question you can be asking yourself. Maybe you're not meant to work with thousands. That is okay. Maybe you're meant to really impact the life of the very few, but do it in a very deep and very important way. And that is also correlated to the value that you create in the world. But that being said, all of you are creator beings. I know this. I believe this. There are things that you have, like talents, that you're probably not leveraging to the best of your ability. Some talents that are still hiding. And some of the value that you could be giving to this world dwells in those talents. And those are the things that, you've been probably taking for granted your entire life. For me, teaching was actually one such thing. Since my early childhood, I never wanted to be a teacher. I come from a family of teachers. And growing up, I saw them loving their job, but being pretty broke. And so I decided that never in a billion years, like you could not force me to be a teacher. And then lo and behold, I moved to the US. I mean, I had a lot of like businesses and jobs, but whatever. This one was, I became a speed reading coach, you guys. It's very funny. Because I'm a nerd. If you didn't know, I'm letting you know. And we did this, we did speed reading workshops with my girlfriend for a bunch of Wall Street people in New York City. It was very funny. Where are you from? I'm from Russia originally. I moved here for college. Yeah, so it was funny because it was a group of Wall Street folks. I don't know, call them like 30, 40 people. And that was my first, well, it wasn't my first foray into teaching. I also taught English to the Russians, but that's like 10th grade. The speed reading thing was hilarious though, because it's a full day workshop. So you're teaching in front of 40 people for an entire day. And we would interchange with my girlfriend. And she really wanted to be a teacher. She's like, I love teaching people, Mariya. She's like, oh my God, this is so cute. I hated teaching. But I do like speed reading. And so, like it was paying my bills and, it was paying for college. So I was like, this is fine. So we would do that. And then we would do, towards the end of it, we would have these feedback forms. And every single time I would get a feedback form, it would be like 5 out of 5 across the board for like most people is how they would rate me. And they'll be like, Mariya is the best teacher I've ever seen, blah, blah, blah. The speed reading thing is for real. And then for my girlfriend who really wanted to be a teacher, she had, the scores that were a little bit all over the map. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, how weird. She really wants to do this, but she cannot get my grades. And I really hate this. And people think I'm freaking good. And I could not understand why life could be so unfair. I was like, I don't get it. Like, if only I wanted to be a teacher, like, why would God give me a skill that I'm really good at? Whereas I actually really totally detest it. So, like, it made no sense to me. And of course, my parents are also hilarious because they thought I would grow up to be a teacher of like languages or literature or something like that because I was very much into humanities. And I was like, no, hell no. And like, lo and behold, then my spiritual awakening happened. And look at me now. I guess I'm teaching people about spirituality and spiritual concepts, including money. And that's when I realized that if you're meant to do this, there's absolutely no amount of running you can do from your calling in life, which at least a part of what that calling for me is teaching. So God put me on this earth to talk to people, to translate very complicated concepts into something that's very simple and palatable. And yes, that is an innate skill set. And by the way, I had to work through a whole lot of resistance of how teachers never get paid. Chris is like a teacher of light, thank you, something like that. And you know what? Now it's so effortless to me, and it's so pleasurable because I'm like, okay, well, I'm playing to what I'm supposed to be doing. Like that was the innate skill that I've always had that helps me add value to so many people. That's just an example of how you are sometimes in complete denial of your own talent and how you are sometimes like the biggest repellent of money and like all the goodness in your life just because you're stubborn and you don't see the bigger plan, if that makes sense. I hope this helps somebody on the other side. Um, now do you love it, right? Yes, I do. I love it. I love teaching now. And it's not even that I cannot imagine this is where I live. Like it's so natural. It's like fish in the water. Like, does the fish love swimming? I don't know that the fish is conscious that she's swimming or it is swimming. It's just like what I do, if that makes sense. Like I cannot imagine a more natural expression of who I am than this. Like, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. Like, I guess that's a part of it, but is that really why I'm here? I don't think so. Like, I'll do that for fun, but teaching I think is where it's at for me. Anyway, that's that. So, self-worth, yellow chakra, self-worth, and value, right? Like, always look for that talent because it's your greatest talent that's going to help you add the most value that you're meant to add in this universe and the next. Somebody's like, Midas, like you're so passionate about the subject. I know, it's one of those things. I have so much fire in me when I'm passionate, it really comes through. All right, rule 8. Okay, some archetypes tend to struggle with money. I call them the broke archetypes. I want to talk to you about 3. Their energy repels money big time. The first one is the savior archetype. You know the kind, and there are so many of them, saviors, in the spiritual field. Like a lot of spiritual practitioners are actually saviors. They're like, let me save humanity, let me make sure nobody dies unawakened or what have you. A savior is the first archetype that really repels money. Because why? Because a savior, in a way, it's almost like I'm doing God's work. I would be doing this even if I wasn't paid for it. Who cares about energy exchange? I just love people, and let me just keep helping everybody for free and always. The problem with saviors is not only do they repel money like nobody's business, they eventually end up the victims of their own, I guess, setup. Because God forbid a savior becomes successful at saving people or helping people or whatnot. Meaning, God forbid a ton of people find out that they can go to the Savior for free forever. That is the Savior. I mean, whoa, that is the biggest depletion you could imagine. Because it's the Savior that that got recognized as the Savior that suffers the most. Because then nobody really wants to ever pay them. By the way, somebody's asking me, what about martyr? Same archetype. Savior depleted is always a martyr. It's the same energy. Same energy. Two sides of the same coin. The problem with savior is pride. I know that's not how you guys think about it. You think saviors are like humble and whatnot. No. If you think people need saving, that's pride. And that is why eventually you're going to end up depleted because somebody needs to even up, well, not somebody, the universe needs to even things out, right? Satyrs, it's a challenging archetype. A lot of us have it. We have a lot of very prominent spiritual leaders, Yeshua, Jesus being one. And the aura of that person is that they helped everybody for free, and if they did, we might as well, try to resemble that. And so there's a whole lot of martyrdom that has been created thanks to, I think, how his teachings were, let's say, it misconstrued. The problem with saviors is that at some point they start getting resentment because they help all these people. And by the way, what does the savior usually want? The savior usually wants some sort of gratitude or recognition, but they may never get it, or they may never get it in the way that they want, or in the way that they're able to receive. So every savior ends up depleted, right? It's just a matter of time. Okay, the second archetype that is a money repellent is a victim. You know the kind. It's like, the world's always against me. I didn't do anything to deserve this. Why things always happen to me. I'm sad and lonely and broke. Listen, we've all lived lifetimes of victims. Like, it's, in the world where, in the 3D world where we're so disconnected, there's always the aggressor, there's always the victim. It's like one of those games that, we all end up playing. That being said, a victim is always somebody who has like an external locus of control, meaning they always feel like it's the universe ruling them as opposed to them kind of like being in charge, right? So in a way, a victim is somebody who doesn't have their own sovereignty. They don't feel like they have agency. They don't feel like they have the right to make choices. And even if they make choices, somehow things always go wrong. A victim is one of those archetypes that tends to be broke more often than not. And when I say broke, okay, maybe not broke, but not thriving. Not thriving. Because the energy of the victim is almost like a polar opposite to thriving. The third that I'm going to call out is a child. And listen, we all have inner children, and that is beautiful. This is not the kind of child that I'm talking about. They say in relationships, right? And usually in relationships with people, it's like one of psychological theories. You could be one of three people. You could be a child in a relationship, you can be a parent in a relationship, or you can be an adult in a relationship. Children and parents usually go together. They're like a pair. And sometimes you have couples like a husband and wife where one is a parent and one is a child. And what does it mean? One is always taking care of the other, providing for the other, and the other is a more subordinate kind of like zone. You can also be an adult in a relationship, which is where you have the responsibility for yourself, but you're not trying to play a parental role for your partner. A child in any kind of relationship, or a person that plays this child ego state very frequently, is not the person that's going to have the money. Because if you think about children in today's society, they don't have the money unless adults give them the money or parents buy things for them. So unless you kind of like grow up in relationships, and what do I mean by grow up? Money always comes to the people who bear responsibility for their own actions, or the lack of thereof. And that is precisely what a child is not. Children don't like having responsibility. They're not supposed to, they're not used to, right? So really, graduating from that child archetype is what's going to enable you to make money. And if you're stuck, and like, what are some of the examples of like, I'm in a child state? When you are waiting for somebody to come and save you, when you are waiting for somebody to come and take care of you, things like that. When instead of thinking, wait a second, I have 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. I can figure it out. I can stand on my own 2 feet. I can do what I love. I can make money doing that. That's, that is a perspective of an adult. A child is always waiting for somebody to come and solve their problems. And the child is always like, well, this is not me. It's somebody else out there in the ether. It's never something else out there in the ether, even if you would like it to be, because you are 100% responsible for your life. And so taking back responsibility for your successes and your failures. And yes, taking back responsibility for the things that you have as much money as you have and not a dollar more is the start of the healing. That is where the healing begins. Understanding that no, nobody is necessarily meant to come and save you. Somebody's like, this is a light bulb moment. Yeah, yeah. We actually do a lot of work on the different archetypes, not just these ones in Thrive. Archetypes, I like working with archetypes because it's a very quick way to dissect the problem and like get straight into the middle of it. And if you recognize any of these, the recognition of like, oh, actually, yeah, I have that tendency is already a part of the problem. Sorry, a part of the solution, right? Just recognizing that you tend to act in a particular way. Okay, let me see. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. I hope you guys enjoyed the rules of money. I hope it was insightful based on the comments. It certainly feels that way. If you have two archetypes, you have two archetypes. You probably have more than two. I mean, we all have multiple archetypes. If you can let me know what your favorite rule is in the comments, I'm totally curious what resonated the most. You should. Somebody's saying I should write a book on shadow work and parts work. Maybe that's a big undertaking. Mona, I know Teal Swan wrote a book called The Completion Process. It's a book on shadow work. So I feel like in some ways she's done that work already. So check it out. Capacity is somebody's favorite. Yes, capacity, savior child archetype, the inflow. Yes. Capacity again, self-worth. Yes, that's a big one. Wonderful. Money being water. Yes. I mean, technically, money is feminine. Did it just blow your mind? Money is feminine. She's like a girlfriend. And if you're going to not treat her right, she ain't going to come to you because she has good memory, just like water. Money remembers everything. Okay. How much time would this workshop last? Somebody's asking. I don't know, about another hour and a half-ish, give or take, but I'm not putting you know, a firm deadline on this. I'm very much in the flow. The journey, I think, is going to take about an hour. So once we get to the journey part, that's about an hour. Okay. Thank you, guys. I'm very glad that you liked the rules of money. Okay. The three forces that limit your money flow. That is kind of like why you all showed up. This is actually a very empirical thing, meaning as I work with people, certain things just come up in sessions and groups, etc. I also observe the collective a lot. So as I was thinking about how I want to structure this workshop to help you guys release as much as you can as it relates to money, I decided to divide it into like 3 different buckets. And we're going to dive into those right now. So essentially, you have 3 forms of resistance, 3 types of resistance, and they all stem from subconscious trauma. What do I refer to as subconscious trauma? The things that run through your lineages that you are completely unaware of because it may be 5 generations removed from you, but it's still there in your lineage tree. And things that can be traced back to your past lives. Now, despite the fact that some of the things that I talk about are quite nebulous, and you're like, well, how can I really figure out what's going on with my lineage? The trauma is still there, or rather, you are witnessing in your life the end result of all the trauma that has happened, right? So where you are today, you are the end result. You're the fruit of everything that happened prior. And that is how we get into the first bucket. The first bucket is all of the trauma that lives in your body around having had money at one point. I know it sounds counterintuitive. You're like, Mariya, having money sounds great. That's what we're trying to get to. Well, you wouldn't believe once you actually start digging into people's past lives what comes up. Why is the trauma around having had money in past lives so prevalent, and what kind of trauma am I actually referring to? One big one, by the way, you know, there are so many. You know, we could probably just take this bucket and stay here for 2 hours. Fear of being targeted, judged, or resented for your money, right? That could have actually happened to you in a past life, right? Say, I don't know, you were a member of the nobility and then you were living during the times of the French Revolution, do you think that was fun for you? Absolutely freaking not. No, heads were rolling because of certain people having wealth and other people not having wealth. As I'm giving you all of these things, meaning all of these examples, start feeling in your body. Be really present in your body with me. If I say something and your body all of a sudden gets you like this like little contraction somewhere or constriction, it is because you have that trauma. And pay attention to where in your body that trauma is, because it is seeking to get out. And really get used to working with your bodies, because your body is a map, a physical map of all of your traumatic experiences. And yes, you're not going to feel all of them at the same time, but because you walked into this space, because you walked into this container, your body already knows you want to work with your money issues, so it's going to start highlighting them for you. Yes, somebody's like, I already feel this, the stomach is contracting. Yes. So fear of being targeted, judged for your money, right? Like where you're like either with the people or you're against the people. And for a very long time, I mean, and still, right? Like most people are not rich. So God forbid you are rich, you become the target, you become resented. Everybody's like, well, their money is unclean, or they did something else or other to get the money, etc. The second one is a bit less prominent, but it still comes up. The pressure to support family or carry others' burdens, right? We're like, well, if I had the money, I would have to take care of them, or I'd have to do X, Y, and Z that nobody can come after me because right now I don't. So that is another reason that you may be repelling the money. Somebody was saying jealousy. Yes, jealousy, right? It's right here. It lives here as well. Jealousy. And then there is another thing that's an undercurrent of jealousy. Is this fear of humanity, of not being loved for who you are, but being loved for your money. So if I were to get rich, how would I know who my friends are? Because everybody's going to want to spend time in my beautiful home and, whatnot. And how would I know who my real friends are? So yes, it's that deep loneliness. That's right. It's that feeling of I won't be able to trust anybody around me. And then, God forbid, if at one point you were rich and you were killed by your family for your inheritance, and that does happen, and then you're like, okay, well, I cannot even trust my family if I have money. Who can I trust, right? So there's a whole lot of loss of trust when it comes to money. This third one, the third bullet point, is actually big in women. And I've certainly worked with a lot of women who are really scared of out-earning their partner, being more prominent than their partner, and by doing that, by the virtue of doing that, outshining them somehow. They really don't want to outshine that. I have multiple, even personal friends who are married and who would always come to me for like business advice. But the only thing I can ever tell them is, hey, you're going to have to be okay with outshining your husband. Like, I don't have a better answer for you, because that is their next frontier. And of course, they nod and then they withdraw, and they come back to me a year later with the same problem, because this is a real issue, and it starts with a choice. Like every woman has a choice. Like for instance, if you are one of those women who thinks that your husband is going to divorce you if you make double, triple, quadruple the amount of he does, then it's a conscious choice to want to heal that. And by the way, it is also a fallacy. There's absolutely no rule that says your husband is going to divorce you if you outshine him. But it is something that is very much ingrained in us by generations of conditioning, by generations of women who did not have their own money. And it was the husband who was the only and the sole breadwinner. And even if you did have the dowry, it went straight to the husband. So women did not handle money for the longest of times. And so in a way, for us to be like, wait a second, everything is flipped on its head, we have to really stand in our power and be okay redefining the playbook. And a lot of women in this group are going to be tested and have already been tested by that. Like, what is your commitment really? Listen, I'm not saying, by the way, right, that money is more important than marriage. Absolutely freaking not. Marriage is more important than money. However, you know what is also important? Living your truth. Being who you came here to be. And if you came here to shine, you better shine, girl. And from that perspective, it almost like if your husband cannot handle it, maybe he's not the right husband. I'm saying things that, some people can get very mad at because if this is your core wounding and you're like, hell no, I'll keep my marriage no matter what. To each their own. But just understand that in a lot of women, especially women entrepreneurs, this is a big, big, big problem. And this is the number one thing that prevents them from earning to their potential. It's just the fact that they've decided that for whatever reason, the husband is not going to be okay with that. By the way, very often when I scan these relationships energetically, I don't see that. Actually, don't see that the husband is going to be the problem. It's the fear that's the problem usually. The what ifs. And what if he actually divorces me, right? It's the fear that holds us hostage, and it's not really usually the partner. I'm a big believer that you can talk through most things and explain most things. And in fact, if they are the right partner for you, they probably want you to live up to your potential and do the things that you came here to do instead of being unhappy and resentful because you can't do it because of them, right? Because that resentment doesn't leave the female body. Like it's still there. Like she's still resenting her husband for holding her back. And yet the husband may have never asked for this, right? Like it's not like the husband is always standing there and be like, why are you always working? Why wouldn't you be a stay-at-home mom? Like there are some men like that, but a lot of men are not like that. A lot of men are not like that. The fourth bullet point here is anxiety around visibility, success, of being seen, and like kind of like everything else that the money brings, right? Like all of a sudden there's going to be a lot more of you on the map. There's going to be a lot of your energy, right? Because having more money also means having a bigger imprint on this reality. And being seen is a core trauma for a lot of you because of persecution. And given the group that is here, a lot of you are spiritual. That means that a lot of you have had special abilities in past lives, including the lifetimes where the church was implementing the witch hunts, right? So this thing is real. Like being visible for a lot of people does not feel safe. Does not feel safe. It feels like you're going to be a target, and that is never a good thing. So all of these things, right? Like, and this is one big bucket. And by the way, there are, like I said, probably 30 more bullet points from here of how at one point when you had money, that could have been a traumatic experience. Something came out of it. I gave you this example of a child being taken away for ransom. This is also the trauma around having money, of how you having money somehow hurts your family. There is another thing around, well, that's actually very prevalent in women. It's the either or trap. It's the trap of, well, I'm either a good mother or I'm going to make a lot of money, but I cannot have it all. In a way, it's almost like which one is it going to be? Am I going to be a wonderful housewife and mother and like devote all of my time to my children, or am I going to be a career woman? And if I'm a career woman, I'm going to have to make all of these sacrifices. I'm not saying you don't have to make sacrifices on the path to self-actualization. You do. But the trauma of having to pick and choose is very much in this department. And by the way, whatever you choose, there's no right or wrong answer because trauma can be created either way. Like you may choose family in this equation and have a lot of trauma as a result of it. You may choose career and have just as much trauma associated with that. Just as much blood, sweat, and tears, and just as much discomfort, right? So anyway, the first big force that is preventing you from having money today in this lifetime are all of the things around your lineage around having money. And these are just some examples. Moving on to the next one. Trauma of not having money. This is a little different. Again, this runs in your lineage as well. And when I observe people, and especially when we have money conversations, I usually observe like a money imprint in their body. And it looks like a network. It's just like emerald dish network. And some people come with like a very robust emerald networks, and some people don't. And in other words, depending on your history, your soul's history, and your family's history, if you just happen to have had a lot of lifetimes where you had money or where you were born into means, then you're going to have a very robust emerald network around you, quite naturally. And so in this lifetime, even if you come seemingly without cash, without money or the means, you're going to build it back very quickly because it's innate to you. And then there's the opposite. And that is the opposite of you didn't come with a very built out money network inside of your body, which just means that you simply haven't had enough experience of being rich in past lives, and neither have your ancestors, which is actually very common, right? And for those of you that don't have this blueprint, it's almost like venturing into the territory of money is always a bit of an adventure, and everything is true new because you're like, whoa, how does it work? Because your soul just hasn't been exposed to that frequency too often. And so because of that, you you lack a bit of a blueprint for receiving or holding money. Like your brain maybe doesn't naturally attune itself to, well, how can I get the money? How else? Like maybe your brain is not wired for seeing opportunity yet. Maybe it is not wired to be able to hold the money yet. Money maybe doesn't feel right for you. There are some people, by the way, if you're the person who can get a large sum of money and then you spend it very quickly, that could also be this. That could also be this. It's like if you cannot hold the money or keep the money on your bank account, no matter how, like, I don't know, for instance, if you just received an inheritance and like a year later, it's gone. If you just won the lottery, a year later, it's gone. If you just received a huge bonus, a week later, it's gone. And you're like, where does the money go, man? I don't know. You're not comfortable holding it. So your body is looking for ways to get rid of it as quickly as it can because you just don't have the blueprint. Yeah, like a hot potato. You're like, oh, give it back to somebody who can hold it. I don't need this. Oh my God. And of course, in your life, it's not going to feel that way. It's going to be like, well, I know I spent it on this, that, and the other thing. It's like, yes, at face value, it may feel like, oh, I just want to buy that, or this is such a cute thing. Oh my God, like whether that's vacations, bags, or what have you, the money's just gone. But really, the underlying current and the underlying issue is, well, you actually don't have the blueprint, like the wherewithal, the structure to hold the money in your auric field. And so the most natural thing for you is to just like get rid of it so you're clean again. For this trauma of like not having a lot of money, that is usually where you operate from survival, from contraction, from like over control. And this is like the lack of safety, right? So, meaning like you're generally, for somebody that has a trauma of not having money in past lifetimes, that is usually the root chakra issue, right? That is where I would go to heal the root and the red, because that is how you start building your tree up. That is how you start building your confidence up. It's not from the yellow, it's from the red at the tailbone. That first, most basic, most raw energy center. Because if you have this trauma, that is where you've probably had lifetimes where you were homeless, where you have experienced the loss of home, right? Like, I don't know, maybe your house burning down and like then being on the streets. That is the lives where you experienced extreme poverty over and over and over again. Like the kind where you cannot provide for your children and you have to really ration the portions. Or, very often souls that don't have a blueprint like that, they're going to align very well to the times of like great famines in humanity's history, because that is that core vibrational match to this energy. And by the way, this frequency, it always creates this undercurrent of striving, of like getting by, of survival. Even as your income increases, it's almost like you feel like you have to run as quickly as possible, as hard as you can, to even just stand in the same place or stay in the same place. It's almost like somehow the expenses are always so huge and it never really feels like you're winning in this game. It always feels like a rat race, and it always feels like you're a bit powerless. Yeah, somebody is like, or like the lifetimes of being a monk. That's right. Like if you also have a lot of lifetimes of devotion where you had to give up, especially Buddhist monks, if you had to give up a lot of material possessions because you did not assign value to that, right? That could create or help solidify that blueprint. It is totally Somebody's like, I think I have both traumas. Yes, it's actually very possible that you have all three of the buckets. Um, and somebody may be wondering, like, how can you have a built out wealth network and non-built out wealth network all at the same time? You can actually. That's the thing about parts. Depending on which part of you actually takes over your life, you can act like a completely different human. Because if something is being triggered in you and that triggers this like lack persona, um, you may actually start losing money, even if you've already made money when you were in another persona, if that makes sense. Which kind of brings me to this third one, the third bucket of trauma. This trauma is of losing money. And this at one point happened to you when you had the money. You know, sometimes they say it's much worse to lose it than not have something in the first place. Because you already know how it feels to have it and all the perks that come with having. And then you're like, whoa, being taken away from you. That's like the rug being pulled from under your feet. And if it doesn't really resonate with money, but think about losing like the love of your life. That I'm sure is going to ring like that heartache is just so prominent that a lot of you are going to be like, oh yeah, like losing the love of my life would be terrible. But like losing money and safety can be just as terrible. And that is actually like a very, very unique type of trauma, but it's also very painful, like this kind, right? And usually it's a past life, and I don't know, you know, some of the things that come to mind. I was working with this woman once, and she was an entrepreneur in a past life. We were looking at her past life stuff, and she had a fleet. She was a silk merchant somewhere in Europe, and she was importing silks from China. And she had a competitor, and it was a family business, so she inherited it from her father. Um, and she loved the business so much and her family's legacy. And one morning she wakes up and she's waiting for a new shipment of silks, and this competitor has set up her entire fleet on fire. And she's just watching all of these ships burn. And like we're going through like with her through that trauma, and that trauma is so painful to her because it's like losing everything that her father has worked for or had worked for. And it breaks her in that lifetime because the entire supply of silks had been demolished. And I think she was making she had like a major order from one of the royal courts that she needed the silks for. And so they stopped ordering from her. And so that completely like took her out of business in that lifetime. And so in this lifetime, she came to me with not understanding what her block is around entrepreneurship. And the realization from that session was that the pain of having had that business and then losing it was so great in her that in this lifetime, without addressing that pain, she was not willing to even start. Because she's like, what's the point of having the money? The money is going to be taken away from me. And this is just like a quick example for you guys of how this particular trauma may play out. But like having something and then losing it and watching it all crumble and burn, I think a lot of you can relate to that. What is a bit maybe more prevalent in this group is having your house burned down. You know, even if it's not a business, but like your family home, like something that your parents have passed on to you. Like this is pretty loud in this group and in your etheric bodies. And it's like almost like watching it all being covered by soot and dust and ashes and like the pain. And I don't know who I'm reading from. Somebody's field is very loud. The stables burned out and all the horses, and that was pain. And you know, like I cannot believe this is happening to me. Yeah, so there's a lot of pain here. And then the emotional imprint that this pain creates is it can disappear at any moment. There's no such thing as a legacy. Like all things can burn, all things can be taken away. Expansion itself feels dangerous. And so if you have a prevalent trauma like that, it's like losing a child in a way. You know, that pain sometimes is commensurate to losing a child. And so a whole lot of people are going to do a whole lot of things to avoid that. Those are the three buckets. Those are the three buckets. Here is how the healing session usually works. A, it's completely guided by spirit. So my intention is to heal the 3 buckets, meaning, or as much as we're going to be allowed. Obviously, it's just in an hour, right? Like I cannot solve all of your problems in an hour, but I sure will try. So we're going to go into a journey and we're going to go through what is rising for the collective in these 3 buckets. So in other words, Spirit already knows what your personal issues are. And we're just going to be guided through an experience to help you work through that. Before we get into, somebody's like a little bathroom pause. Sergey, do you think it makes sense to take a quick break?
Before the healing, yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, we would at least 5 minutes before the healing.
Okay. Let's see real quick. Well, before we get into the healing, just a couple of things that I wanted to share with you guys. Thrive, if you don't know, I'm teaching this course about abundance, money, manifestation called Thrive. This is my second time teaching it. I taught it about a year ago, a year and change, who's counting? And this is actually the first course that I'm teaching twice. Everything else that I've ever offered, I've only done once. I don't like repeating things, but it's my dharma to share the gospel of abundance, and I will continue to do so. We're starting on May 30th. If you have never heard of Thrive, just a quick rundown. This is Sergey putting in, this is Mariya.com. This is Mariya.com. In the red is the website where you guys go to check it out, to register, to claim your spot. Thrive is probably the most special creation course-wise that I have made. It's a 3-week affair where we meet every, was it Sunday or Saturday? Depends. I think like this time we're mixing up, but on the weekends we meet. And it's like a full day when we meet, 3 full days. And day 1, we're going to talk about abundance, resources, and flow. It's all a channeled curriculum. And by the way, if you have taken Thrive before, this year is going to be a slightly updated version because I'm not the same version than I was a year and a half ago. I have much grown. My businesses have grown. It's all have just really expanded. So you're going to be getting a whole new Mariya. Abundance is something that is beyond money. Abundance comes in so many shapes and sizes. So day 1, we're going to be talking about the flow, the inner flow and the outer flow. The outer flow is, both of these are my personal terms. This is how my guides are, referring to them. Everybody's familiar, I think, with this concept of like be in the flow or go with the flow. Flow is that flow of abundance, that river of abundance. Very often, though, we are in resistance to that. I have lived my life as a human and as an entrepreneur for many years being out of flow. And when I finally figured out a way to connect to flow, things started happening so quickly, so seamlessly, and they just came like fell on my lap and I could not believe it. So this is essentially our deep dive into the divine feminine. Divine feminine and how she works with this reality and what is available. It's not about pushing harder or pushing hardest. It's about attuning your body and vibrating at the frequency where she can help you. The great mother, that is. So that's day 1. Day 2 is money and wealth. So we're going to spend an entire day. And when I say an entire day, I really go for as long as I have to. So it's a marathon in those days. We meet in the morning and we go, sometimes it's dark outside, like when we finish. Because not only do I transmit the concepts, but we also go into a lot of healing and we do a lot of diagnostics. And you guys are going to look into like your relationships with money and what's holding you back. We're going to talk to money. The most favorite aspect of day 2 for people is the money crystal. If you know, you know. The money crystal is, or the treasure, that's key 21 here on the map, is something you're born with. A money crystal is, sometimes, by the way, a lot of people have more than one. So we're going to diagnose how many money crystals you have inside of you. A money crystal is your shortcut to wealth, essentially. Depending on the color or the caliber of your money crystal, it'll tell you how you're meant to make the biggest money of your life. Like what is the industry, or like what are you supposed to be doing, essentially. For example, if you have a pink crystal, that has to do with communities. Pink crystals are always meant to make money from communities, which means organizing people, whether that's retreats, circles, teaching. Anytime you bring people together as a pink money crystal, you're going to get money. A golden money crystal, for instance, is somebody who has this knack for luxury. You're probably either supposed to work with high-priced goods or luxury goods, or you're supposed to have a very high check when working with people. That's, for instance, that would be the golden crystal. But there are a ton of crystals. We're going to go through a meditation about what they are during the second day of Thrive. And then what I'm adding this year is also how you can work with your money crystals, because people really loved it last time. So I'm going to expand on that section. What else do I need to tell you about day 2? Any kind of resistance around money, we're going to work on and we're going to address on day 2. So if you guys liked the 7 rules of money, this is just like the little tip of the iceberg. There's like all that and more, like multiplied by 100 on the day off the event. Mode 3 is manifestation, active and passive. I have been manifesting for a while. I think my first book on manifestation I read when I was still in Russia. And that is what actually enabled me to immigrate, to come to this country. Both of my parents were adamantly against me coming, and I was 18. So it was pretty weird. But I read a book on manifestation and I took the principles to heart. So I've been manifesting since 18. And if it wasn't for that, I would not be here. So I'm an avid believer in the fact that if you want to manage your life, you manage your energy first. And if you know, how it's done, then life is going to become very, very simple. Now, there is active manifestation, there is passive manifestation. Active manifestation is when you sit down and use your masculine to manifest, which means, I don't know, you do vision boards, you do, all manner of things. Like essentially, the active manifestation is when you do activities to manifest. Passive manifestation is when you just align with the universe of this is what I want, and then you just relax and step back and the universe just brings it to you. Both are very important. It's not either or, it's both. And all of the tips and tricks, especially some of the new ones, manifestation section, I'm really going to expand this year just because I love it so much. All of that is going to be day 3. Okay. What else is new this year compared to last year? We're going to have 2 types of tickets. The regular ticket that actually gives you, it gives you access to all 3 days, and it gives you access to a meditation companion. I've recorded a lot of meditations and journeys that you can do over and over and over again, even once this is done. And meaning the course is done. And you can go back to that. I will be recording additional journeys based on the group that joins today. So you're going to get all of the manifestations from last year. Sorry, why am I calling them manifestations? It's meditations. You're going to get all of the journeys from last year, and then you're going to get some additional ones based on the needs of this group that is gathering. I'm also offering a higher tiered ticket called Thrive Premium. That one includes everything in the basic plan plus 2 additional days. And those days are essentially group coaching sessions with me. It's going to be based on what you guys are going through. Very often when you're a part of the group, pretty much everything that group is going to be going through based on the law of attraction, the principle of attraction, is going to be applicable to you. So I'm very, very excited about coaching these coaching calls, because that's where you bring your own grievances. That's where you bring your own questions. And that's when we dive really, really deep. There's probably going to be journeys just for that smaller group on Thrive Premium. One thing that I need to let you know, guys, is that until May 1st, we still have early bird pricing. So for the next, 4 or 5 days, give or take, we're going to have early bird pricing. It's 5 days. And then it's the price goes up. So for right now, you can still get the course at $999, which is actually lower than the recording of the course from last year. So even if you were to buy the recording of the previous Thrive right now, you would need to pay, I think, $1,100. But for until May 1st, you can get that for a really, really good price. And there's also an early bird price on Thrive Premium. That's that. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Somebody already asked about a payment plan. I think Sergey's responded to that. does it have to be live? No, you don't have to attend live. You can always watch a recording. However, the field is very delicious when you are online. That being said, all of the recordings are going to be available for you to watch as many times as you need, or as often as you need. I never include this section, but I figured I would this time because why not? Because I know I have a mixed group and some of you guys have only met me a week ago. The time, Sergey, what time I was starting? I think it was 11 a.m. Eastern time. So it's Eastern Standard Time, so New York City time. Why me? Like, remember I kind of started this foray into money by telling you that you should never take advice from somebody who hasn't walked the walk. Like if the person in front of you is trying to give you advice, doesn't have what you want, they're probably not a good person for you. So I'm going to put some of the things that I've done in my life so that you can determine whether I'm the teacher for you or not. Obviously, I'm not for everybody. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. But I figured that at least I'll tell you a bit about myself. I am a practicing entrepreneur and a spiritual channel in one, which I think makes me quite unique because I spend an ungodly amount of time every week being both spiritual and like hands-on in the business world. Usually it's one or the other with people, right? Like usually you're either an entrepreneur and like business person and that's what you do, or you're full on spiritual and that's what you do. I'm both and I got incredibly great at flipping between those two polarities and sometimes doing them, all at the same time. I did write a top-rated book about manifestation. It's on Amazon. It's called 72 Keys to Manifestation. It's 4.8 stars. I'm proud of this baby. It was my first book. It came about when I asked Spirit, how can I help the most people, or the biggest number of people? And Spirit told me write a book about manifestation. And I said, yes, please. And then it was about a year and a half of channeling. And I think we launched this book back in 2021 is when it was live. And it still has very, very important keys. So if you are looking to work with your solar plexus chakra, if you're looking to manifest with the sun, it has some really potent ancient keys. And if you have the book and you haven't, reread it, it could be a good time to reread it because some of the codes you would notice that the more times you read the book, the more it opens up for you. I'm an energy healer. I see the root cause of your issues and I help to address them and, essentially help you process exactly what I'm seeing based on the trauma that you experienced in the past. On my spiritual side, I also have a meditation app, and over 1 million people have to date already have meditated with me through the One Mother app as well as the Our Sacred Universe podcast. It's kind of like one and the same baby. Now it's called One Mother. It used to be called Our Sacred Universe. It used to be and still is very popular on Spotify, so that's where we touched a lot of people. I have about 800,000 followers on social, which for a spiritual account is good. And I certainly have used my power of manifestation to get here because you guys, this is a side hustle. I don't do this full time by any stretch of imagination. And I've also built a spiritual business in addition to my full-time role as a CEO of an e-commerce business. Hold on, my mouse died again. Okay, she's back. This is more about my business persona. I never really share this because I find the stats completely irrelevant on my spiritual accounts, but you guys are here on, call it like you're in a more, in a smallish setting. And it's also relevant because this is, of course, about money and manifestation. So these are my credentials. I'm currently running 2 9-figure fragrance brands in the United States. The logos are below. It's Scentbird and Drift. I'm running them all under the same, it's under the same really brand name. Scentbird owns Drift. So it's kind of like one and the same company. As this combined company, we are a fragrance subscription business. We're serving 2 million customers, mostly in the United States, but also Canada, United Kingdom, and Australia. And then in terms of revenue for this business, it's over $400 million. And I built it from nothing with Sergey and myself. We started back in 2013, and you guys, I was like beyond an underdog. Like came from nothing, $3 in my freaking back pocket, and build it from scratch. And it's growing very quickly still. So, you'll talk to me next year, it's going to be a very different number. In 2022, Sunbird acquired Drift. So I started Sunbird, and then in 2022, we acquired Drift. It was making $6 million when we acquired it. It's going to be about 200 million this year or so. It's rapid growth. Drift is completely killing it. It's a top seller. It's a car freshener product. It's the number one best-selling car freshener on Amazon. It's the second on Walmart. It's growing. So in other words, I practice what I preach. That's why I wanted really to show you this. I practice what I preach, and the insights that my spirit guides tell me, I've like tested them with my businesses. I've tested them and I know they work. And it would be my greatest dharma and pleasure to pass along the learnings. These are just, some screenshots of me being featured in press for starting this company. This right one is a Forbes article from back in the day. It was very funny because it was we raised some money. That was actually a part of my entrepreneurial journey. Before I cracked the code on the company's revenues, I had to crack the code on fundraising. With fundraising, this was the biggest Series A round raised by a female CEO in the history up until 2018. By the way, we raised the Series A, which is like an early stage financing, was a $20 million round, and I've never had to raise since, because one thing that my guides have shown me, have taught me, is how to multiply what I have. Which is actually really extraordinary in a sense, or unusual in the business setting. Because usually people, once you start raising funding, you keep raising because people always run out of cash, and all of these new startup companies aren't profitable, but we are very, very profitable, and we didn't need outside capital. One is like, Sergey looks so different in here. This is Sergey prior to awakening, you guys. So this is both of us. We're at the cusp of awakening here. I'm 3 months into my awakening on this picture in pink. I'm very much prior to my awakening on the picture on the left. But yeah, Sergey has changed. He looks very different now. He looks like a monk, Buddhist monk. Anyway, we're gonna get done here very, very quickly, you guys. I started pulling these logos because where haven't we been featured? Either me personally or the business. We're very often named like the leading subscription business and whatnot. I put in like a little quick graph for you on the right. For those of you in the United States, I think this is more relevant than for my international folks, but we're the fifth, just Sunbird alone without Drift is the fifth biggest beauty website in the United States, after like Ulta and Sephora that have like thousands of stores, which is like pretty extraordinary. The reason I'm showing you this is because it's been a road, and I attribute a good 70% of my success to my spiritual work. Yeah, I went to business school, but frankly, like whatever they teach you at business school, like could not have gotten me here, which is why Thrive was born in the first place. Last but not least, something that I've been working a lot and manifesting lately are a bunch of partnerships, and they have happened. These are just, some of the organizations, some of the stores that carry our product, or partnerships that we've had. And those are like deep partnerships. And we're making fragrances for Twilight, things like that. That all have just been, I've been manifesting a lot of these things I had on my vision boards, and they've come true. So take this or leave this, again, given all of that, I may be the right person for you or not to teach you about money, abundance, or manifestation, but it certainly is something that I've practiced for the past, God knows how many years, and I'll be teaching a lot of that during Thrive. That's that. The next thing that we're going to do is the healing journey. You guys, we're going to take 10 minutes for a breather. If you want to snatch your early bird ticket for Thrive, you know where to go. This is Mariya.com. If you just want to grab a glass of water, so be it. And I will see you at 2:15 Eastern, 2:16, right? 2:16. So in exactly 10 minutes, We're going to be here for the journey so we can clear all of the things that are very present in your fields. See you in the little bit. Hello, hello, welcome back. How are you guys doing? How are you feeling? Good. At peace. Love it. I'm glad to be with you also. The journey is always the best part. Eating a mango. I love it. Did you guys notice that with these trees of money, a lot of them were mango trees? Now you're eating a mango. I wonder what the universe is trying to tell us. Yes, very excited to continue. All right. Make sure you're comfortable. We're going to go into a journey. It's going to be around an hour long, although I'm not going to strictly time it because it's always guided by spirit. And that's what I love about this. I never know what the journey is going to be until it actually happens. All I know is the intention going into it, and that the 3 buckets are going to show up one way or another. Oh, you're standing? I didn't know that standing is good when you're meditating. Maybe lie down if you can, or sit. That's better. All right, my darlings. If you need to leave early, probably better to watch the replay. Although you can also go for as long as you can go, and then you can still watch the replay after and just like redo the parts that feel good. Yes. Okay. Why don't you get comfortable and close your eyes with me? We're going to go deep. We're going to diagnose what is happening in your fields. Take a deep breath in through the nose and out through your mouth. Coming back into the present moment, into the today and now. Removing your anchors of attention from the past and the future, the things that perhaps have been bothering you, the things that have been on your mind. Allow yourself this respite, this time away from your daily troubles. This is your me time. This is your time that you get to spend with your truth, the truth of your body, the truth of your spirit, the truth of who you are. Take another deep breath in and out. I want you to imagine how a huge, massive pyramid of white light is descending from the heavens to cover your body. This pyramid covers all of us as a group. This is our protective container. Watch how that pyramid seals off this pyramid-like shaped space where we can really be ourselves. This white pyramid of light is our protection from spirit, from God, from source. Make sure that all parts of your body are covered. Nothing is accidentally sticking out. The pyramid reaches deep within the earth underneath your feet. Watch how the sides of the pyramid go up in white flame, clearing everything around us so that there are no interferences, no interventions. And now imagine how a smaller individual pyramid of white light is descending from the heavens specifically for you to seal off your field from anything that your field is not meant to experience. That way you're fully protected and safe. That way you can relax, fully give yourself to this journey, this practice, this healing. We're going to ask Archangel Michael to hold space for us from the north. I'm going to ask Archangel Gabriel to hold space for us from the south. I'm going to ask Archangel Raphael to hold space for us from the east. I'm going to ask Archangel Uriel to hold space for us from the west. In essence, sealing us off inside of a dome of protected light. The dragons also want to be here today. The white Sophia dragons above our head. The black dragons of Tiamat underneath our feet. The mother is holding us in her embrace so that we can experience this healing. I want you to imagine how you're standing in front of an opening in the earth. This opening feels like a portal. And this opening seems to be taking away your resource. It is that opening that seems to almost like be absorbing your money energy. It's that opening that takes away your abundance. It is not anything new. It is something that has been present in your field for quite some time. This is the outflow. And perhaps you have been focusing on it too much. It's the money leaving your body. For whatever needs you have. Maybe it's paying the bills, buying essentials. Maybe it's beyond that. It's buying the things that you want and love just because you want them. But anyway, it is this feeling of money leaving instead of money coming. And it looks like the first type of issues we're going to be dealing with today is the trauma of having had the money and then lost it. Step into this opening in the ground, this chasm. An invisible force is going to lift you up. And it's going to rise, like it's going to raise your body above this chasm. So you're going to be suspended in midair for a quick second. This sensation, this energy that is around you is this frequency of lack, this frequency of not having enough, this frequency of things being taken away from you even if you need them, this frequency of feeling helpless to hold on to the abundance that's slipping away through your fingers. I want you to scan your body top to bottom and identify a part of you that feels the tension when I say lack or not enough. Lack or not enough. It could be more than one spot in your body. A distant memory, perhaps, or something that is very top of mind for you. It could even be how you feel in this lifetime. Simply scan your body, and for any part of your body that is giving you a constriction or discomfort, almost like scoop it out of your body, scoop that frequency out of your body and place that in front of you so we could observe it. And then if it's multiple parts, place all of them in front of you and have them glued together until they become a frequency around you, in front of you. Now you may be seeing something that is unique to you, but I will describe this energy for you also. This energy feels like darkness. This energy feels a little bit like a monster that is always scared, that is always waiting for the other shoe to drop, that is always on the guard, looking around, hunched over. This is not the part of you that is thriving. This is a part of you that perhaps has spent lifetimes experiencing the lack. And that has become a bit of a habit. You would notice that this part of you has a really, really hard time getting access to light. And in fact, if you look around, you will notice that this part of you that is experiencing lack so badly feels trapped. And it's trapped in some sort of cell, like a solitary confinement cell or room. And it's very, very dark. And this part of you is so scared. Come closer to them and touch them with your fingers. Just feel how scared this part of you is, how much lack it feels. This is a part of you that is so used to fending for itself, that is not really counting on ever getting a break. This is perhaps an aggressive part of you also, a calving part of you, a part of you that is in survival. This part of you has certainly not experienced abundance. It is a very distant concept. As you stay with this part inside of the solitary confinement room, I ask that you create an opening in the ceiling and completely remove the top of that chamber so that the light of the sun can pour in. The light of the sun, the light of creation, a remembrance of your sovereignty starts to get into the cell. And at first it feels like this light is burning this part of you, like things are starting to go up in smoke. So you come closer to this part and you tell it, do not be afraid. I'm here for you. I have noticed you. And you will no longer have to fend for yourself. picture yourself giving this version of you a big warm hug. And so you stay there together, embracing. As the sun is shedding its light on you. And as the sun shines upon the skin of this part of you, all the darkness starts to come off in layers. And there is something underneath. The true version of you. What do they look like? Once the sun takes away the layers, once the sun cleanses them with light, what is revealed? I want you to realize that this is a suppressed part of you that has something to offer, but has never been given a chance to contribute because it was in so much pain. But it is in pain no longer. So this part of you is ready to contribute. How is this part meant to contribute to you making money? Because make no mistake, this is a money-making part of you that has been dormant, that has been blocked. But it is being transformed right now. How can it help you make money? Tune in and receive the answer, whether it comes in the form of words, images, or just a deeper knowing or feeling. I'll give you a moment. Trust your guidance in this moment. You're not making it up. And now allow the energy of this part to enter your body and find home within you, creating a space for itself inside of your heart space, for instance, that it can call home. Feel how this part's energy merges with you, entwines with you. How you're being saturated by this frequency. And as a result, there is more of you. There is more of you. And feel how this energy, when it merges with you, it changes you, it shifts you. Now that you have this energy inside of you, unblocked, who do you become? What is this renewed version of you that you're becoming? How does he or she move? How does he or she feel? Beautiful. I want you to pay attention to your throat or your neck. There is a lot of tension there. A lot of sadness for things lost. Zoom into your throat space. Observe your throat space, your neck space from the inside. And I want you to notice that a part of your throat center feels like a burning forest, like a forest fire. And you are right there amidst the burning trees. And as you walk out of the forest, you see the house burning. And inside of that house, everything that you've ever loved or cared for. Something that your parents gave you before they passed in that lifetime. Something that you know you could never recoup for as long as you live. I want you to feel the sadness that comes with this. The realization that something that you truly value, cherish, and love can be taken away from you in an instant. Feel the pain. Don't run away from the pain. You have been running for too long. And it's that sensation of things being taken away from you, that lack, that not enoughness. It's still here as you watch the house burn and crumble until nothing remains and there's just ash and soot and dust. And everything that used to be life is now death. There is great sadness in that. Great sadness. But everything that has an end has a beginning. And you are the spark. So I invite you to walk into the ashes and stand on your 2 feet tall. Remember, you are the spark of your own new beginning. You are the phoenix that gets to reemerge from the ashes if you choose to. And so create a spark, become a spark with your body. And feel how the spark of light hits the ground filled with ashes. And all of a sudden, a new cycle begins. A new cycle where you get to become a new version of you. And just because through this you're starting a new cycle, feel free to lower yourself to the ground because you're the first domino. And placing your hands on the ground, realize that there is so much life force in the earth. And you get to be reborn if you choose to. And channeling the energy, the emerald frequency from the earth into the palms of your hands, take that up into your body, up your arms and into your chest and your belly and your legs. You are an extension of Gaia, a giver of life. And so you get to restore all of the things that once burned and build them back better. As you are fueled with these emerald frequencies of Gaia, give them back into the earth from your palms and watch how new life replaces the ashes of the old. Whatever it looks like, build a new home for yourself. Build a new home, a new castle, whatever you want. Something that feels good to you right now, representing your new level. Watch how the grass is coming up from the depth of the earth and everything is becoming green. A new home of yours is rising, rising, rising taller and taller. Decide what it's going to be, how many stories it's going to have, how many floors. Is it going to have windows that are big or small? Is it going to be a huge house or a tiny, cozy cottage? Is it going to have a garden? Or does it perhaps stand on a seashore? Build it back better. You see, you were always meant to rise up from the ashes. Your house burning was not the end, but the beginning. In fact, that house was perhaps the wrong house for you. This one is right. It fits you perfectly. And in this house, if you get inside, first invite the people that you love or the people that you want to have in your life. It could be a specific person or an idea of a person, like a partner, a dream partner, or children, for instance, if you don't have children. Invite them in. And make sure to decorate anything and everything inside. Make sure there's furniture and ample textiles. There is food on the table and in the pantry. All manner of abundance. Perhaps there are animals, plants, books, toys if you have children, things that matter to you, so that the space is comfortable for your entire family. And just because this is a healing around money, I want you to find in this house a place that attracts money, almost like a home that money has inside of your home. It's going to be hidden behind a door. You come closer to that door and you open it and you step right in. This space is perhaps on the smaller side. So why don't you expand it? Why don't you expand it? And why don't you create openings through which money can start pouring into this room? Almost like vents through which money, coins or bills, however that feels good, or maybe it's just emerald energy of money. Watch how it starts pouring into this container. Remember, this is your safe house, which means that you can expand the container. I invite you to expand it by 5 times. Make this room 5 times bigger. And if your body starts giving you resistance, or if you have a hard time expanding, say to yourself, it is safe to expand. 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 And watch the money pouring in into this vault. And it starts accumulating there. But the point of it is not to just accumulate. You can take from it anytime you want, and there's going to be even more in there. So feel free to imagine how you would take the money and route it or reroute it to the causes that you believe in, or reroute it to where you need it the most. For the categories of expenses that you need the most. Perhaps something that you've always wanted to buy for yourself, but it was just a bit out of reach or too much to commit to. And as you're rerouting the money towards those causes or objects, as the money leaves, even more money pours in. That is the exchange. Beautiful. I want you to step out of this room. And as we're walking around your throat space still while we build this beautiful house, I invite you to exit the house and take a walk towards a nearby forest where there is a new pattern that emerges for this group. And that pattern is very interesting. It's quite unexpected, for me at least. In the forest, you see a part of yourself. They can seem to you like a man or a woman, young or old. And this part of you is in a lot of pain or suffering. And they have a very unique kind of suffering. And it stems from the fact that they have a very particular talent, but they don't feel empowered to make money with it. It's almost as if God gave them this big talent, but they're either not sure how it would ever make them money, or they feel this particular talent is not going to make them enough money, so they're completely torn, because this talent is what they're truly meant to do with their lives, but they have to be the responsible one. And they think that being the responsible one means not choosing this talent, not choosing themselves, but choosing to sacrifice. This is the part of you that has sacrificed itself to make money. This is the part of you that has struggled at the jobs that you hated, doing the things that you did not enjoy, just to get by and put the food on the table for yourself, your family, and your loved ones. Whatever that looks like to you. For some of you, it's even lives that you lived in slavery. For others, it's not quite so dramatic, but it's still not feeling empowered to do what you love, but being forced to do what pays the bills. And there is a lot of pain there. There's a lot of suffering. Some call it the golden handcuffs, but this doesn't feel golden in the slightest. It feels like a tragedy. And not only that, but because of this pattern, you have gotten desensitized to your own talents and your own gifts. You don't even value them as they should be valued anymore. Because you think, what's the point? I used to have this great talent, nobody cared. I used to have this great talent and I had to throw it away to survive. What's the point of having a talent? What's the point if I'm gonna be stuck anyway? Come closer to this part of you. Come closer to this part of you and place your hands on their back. And recognize them for their talent. They need the recognition from you. Nobody else, really. Because you were the first person to tell yourself in that lifetime that your talent was not enough. You decided that. And that decision shaped your future. So by placing your hands on their back, recognize them for their talent. For some of you, you may even remember what that talent was that you were so good at. But even if you don't, what are the hidden talents that you need to recognize yourself for right now? Allow them to come to the surface right now. I'm going to give you a couple of moments and recognize yourself for your talents right now. The talents from this lifetime or past lifetimes. You know who these talents are, or what these talents are. You've been sitting on them forever. So recognize them. What are the talents that you have been hiding away from? You have them still. I'll give you a moment to tune in. And what specifically needs to be recognized in this version of you that you are holding right now or you're touching right now? Because it's something particular that needs to be recognized. Tune into what they need to be recognized for. And when it comes, say, I recognize you for, and fill in the blank. I recognize you for, fill in the blank. You are powerful. Tell this to this part of you that is doubting. Your talent is needed. You are needed. And watch how this indeed gives them power. And they're starting to rise up, squaring their shoulders, straightening their spine. It's as if you've given them wings and belief in themselves. You are worthy. You are worthy to make the money doing the things that you love. You are worthy. Being abundant. Not having to sacrifice anything. You are worthy. And watch how this part of you transforms. How they're no longer sad. In fact, they may start doing something that is very natural to them because they're back into their power. If you let this part of you loose, this very talented part of you loose on the world, where do they go and what do they do with this newly found power and confidence? Simply observe. feel, or know? This is another dormant part of you that is meant to help you make a lot of impact in this lifetime. Invite this part of you back into your body. Let this part of you merge with the rest of you, infusing your every cell, becoming you. And see how it really starts pulling you forward on a new road, pulling you into a new adventure, enabling you to see opportunity where you used to see an issue, an impediment, a challenge. What is that this part really needs to show you, or really wants you to know about the opportunities that are available to you in your life? What are you not seeing? I'll let you tune in. Beautiful. And now you're free to go upon this gilded path. And as you're heading along this gilded path, you're going to be faced with 3 doors, the 3 biggest forces blocking your abundance right now. So as you travel upon this golden path, you come upon the first door and it's black. You reach out and you open the door and you walk through. It's very windy inside, extremely windy. And you see in front of you a stack of bills. But the moment you come closer to it, the wind blows it away. And then you see another stack of bills. But the moment you get closer, the wind blows it away. And so you start chasing money, but the wind is faster. The wind is always ahead of you. So how come you're always chasing and you're always late? This entire situation doesn't feel good, does it? You're feeling helpless and out of power. But here is what I will tell you. You are in charge of this room, nobody else. You are the wind, and you are the money, and you are the person chasing it. There is nobody else in that room. It is just at some point you decided that money was dangerous or unsavory, or you didn't want it. Perhaps it was the jealousy that somebody else who did not have experienced towards you. And when you felt that jealousy, you felt bad for them. And you felt guilty for having it. Guilt is the culprit. Guilt for having is why you have created the wind. It is a part of you, this wind. It's nothing external to you. And it is an agreement between you and the wind. And the agreement is as follows. The wind, anytime I get close to the money, please make sure it disappears. I beg of you. And the wind said, your wish is my command. Whatever you need to be happy. Having gone on this road, though, you realized that chasing money does not quite make you happy either. It's just another form of running in the hamster wheel. So here's what I would recommend. Remembering that you are the wind. Remembering that you are all of this. Let's rewrite the narrative. Tell the wind to quieten. Tell it that you have played this game. You have been playing this game for too long, and you're tired of chasing the dollar bills or the euro bills, and that you're willing to rewrite the narrative. Ask the wind to subside once and for all. And understand that other people's jealousy is about them, not about you. And in fact, we often think of jealousy as a negative emotion, but it is also something that pushes humanity forward, because a jealousy at its core is a recognition of something that you're meant to have in another. And believe it or not, it brings you closer to having that. It brings you closer, not further away. So yes, it is okay to be that shining light. It's okay to be the beacon for others, to recognize in you that which they want to have. And so now that you are standing inside of this room, inside of this space, I should say, there's no more wind. I want you to notice how all of these bills, coins, are scattered around. And when you come to a little nice, neat stack of bills, it's no longer running away from you. So you're just picking it up and placing that inside of your pocket. Because you recognize that you are okay being a part of the collective cycle of expansion. Come close to the biggest pile of money. And pick it up. How does it feel? Does it feel comfortable? Or do you feel a discomfort around it? And say, I allow myself to have this. If you're experiencing any tension inside of your belly or chest area right now, just get present to the sensation. We're working through a pattern called money equals death. I want you to notice around you. It's a bit of a disturbing picture, but stay with me. The ground around you is littered with corpses of people, either past versions of you who died because of money, or your loved ones who died because you had money. And you're like, look, it's true. Money is death. Look at all of these dead versions of me. I'll look at all of these dead aspects of others that I cared about. No matter what happened, a lot of things could have happened to lead to those circumstances. And by the way, money may not even have been the cause of this. It was simply a correlation. And you still blamed it. And you're like, hell no, there's no way I'm picking this energy. I don't want any death around me. I don't want to die. I don't want any of my loved ones to die. So we're going to rewrite this pattern. Remember, you still have this life force of Gaia in your hands. And when you come closer to these corpses and simply touch them very quickly, they're going to start coming alive one by one by one, becoming resurrected, if you will, standing on their own two feet, smiling. They're coming alive not like zombies, but like real living people. And so you come and you give them a little bit of that life force that you have from Gaia. And all of your loved ones rise up. And all of a sudden, this room is filled with living beings, with past versions of you that no longer have to die as a reminder to you, that can come alive because you've learned your lesson. Money has nothing to do with death, although both, in a way, are feminine energies. It's just somehow accidentally they got glued together in your memories. So we're untangling the knots. We're shifting this limited belief. Now that all of these people are standing around you, smiling and happy, all of the parts of yourself that got resurrected in this way, if they were a part of you, invite them back into your heart. Invite them back and see how they're filling you up with light and love, as opposed to loss that you used to have. All of this life force is coming back to you. And this core belief that money equals death disappears. Beautiful. So now that all of your parts that suffered greatly have been integrated back into you, feel free to come up to the biggest pile of money and take it. And all of a sudden you will notice that there's no more discomfort. There's no more resistance. And that is beautiful. And with that, the first door releases you. And the second black door opens on your golden path. As you walk, it's cold. And it feels like you're homeless. And it feels like you're alone. This cold wind is blowing again, and there's very little sun. And you're not wearing much in the matter of clothing, just some thin layers, and you're barefoot. And then you notice that you're not the only version of yourself that suffered so much without money. All of a sudden, you look around and you see hundreds of versions of you feeling broke and lost and left alone to deal with life circumstances. It could be versions of you, it could be versions of your ancestors that barely had enough to get by. And it's this feeling of nobody cares and I'm going to die here alone. And you keep walking, and all of these parts of you are walking alongside you. Why don't you let them merge into one big part that doesn't really feel protected? It does not really feel like the world has its best interest at heart. This version of you is living the blueprint of poverty. And I want you to notice how if somebody was trying to give you a coin, like this version of you, if somebody handed you a coin, you couldn't even hold it. It's like the coin either slips right through your fingers, it just drops on the floor, on the ground. It like flies away, gets repelled somehow, like all manner of things are happening, but you can't hold on to that coin when you're in that state. You literally don't know how to. Your energy cannot hold that coin. And in the past, this hopeless version of you may have died from hunger, from the cold, from people's indifference, frankly, from loneliness, from the lack of safety. But now is a different world. We're going to start building your personal imprint of abundance. I want you to notice in front of you an emerald crystal. Come closer to the crystal and place your hands upon it. You as this version of you that was once really starving and hopeless. And as the codes of green are getting into your hands, they're starting to fill up your body, your veins with emerald light. So the entire blood system turns green. And it is okay because it's etheric blood, it's fine. And then once you get fully saturated with this emerald energy, it starts to go outside of your body, streaming outside of your body, almost like building a little cocoon of green light or a little network of intersecting lines, vertical and horizontal. And it builds it and builds it, it builds it up some more. And it creates this layer of emerald safety around you. It makes you untouchable to things like losing everything, being left outside alone. This emerald layer is starting to make it impossible. You see, imprints like that can be borrowed from the universe. You don't always have to create them by living in the physical world. Sometimes you can borrow them energetically, which is what you're doing right now. Let that cocoon become bigger and bigger and bigger, really insulating you from troubles, from poverty, from losing it all, from worrying about it all, from survival, from struggling. Your new emerald coating, if you will, stretches far, far outside of your body. Let it go as far as it's willing to go, because that is your feeler system for opportunities. It's going to start to magnetize things to you. Because this abundance grid knows what you need. It is completely in tune with what you have requested for yourself, with what you have asked. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And watch how this grid really indeed already starts to magnetize things that you want your way. It's almost like it's either magnetic or like a little bit sticky in a good way, not in a bad way. And if you want something, like it sticks to this net. And so you can bring it closer. So it usually starts at the periphery, like the parts of you that's really like that grid that's really outside of your body. All of a sudden it catches something that you want, and that object starts being magnetized into your field, and then it gets closer, 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 closer into your heart. Beautiful. Yes. You are magnetic, and you have a blueprint for not just getting money, but holding on to money, being the container. And now imagine if somebody gave you a coin, a large golden coin. Could you hold it? The answer is yes. The answer is you could hold a lot more than one. You could hold so many. So watch money or any manner of abundance, whatever is meaningful to you, doesn't have to be money. Start being magnetized to your field. And feel how comfortable it actually is once you start emanating from that place of the living grid of abundance. All of a sudden, abundance is not foreign to you, it's a part of you. It is you. And then things are so easy. Because according to the law of attraction, it shall be yours. Can it be any other way? Say, I allow myself to receive. There is nothing too big or too small. I am the principle of receptivity. I am alive, and I am worthy. And have the universe present to you your personal symbol of abundance. It's going to be a symbol. And it's going to emerge in your consciousness right now, kind of like hovering in midair, as a symbol, a reminder that yes, indeed, you can have anything you want. What does the symbol look like to you or feel like? And the symbol is also more than a reminder. It is an antenna of sorts. So ask the universe how you're meant to use it and where in your body does it belong. And feel free to install this symbol of abundance into you. And see how it fits right in, kind of like the missing piece, like the missing puzzle piece. It's as if it's always been there. And how beautiful that is. And with that, the second door releases you. And you're standing in front of a third door. You touch the handle, and the door opens in front of you. So you step through, and you look around. And then there is all manner of darkness. You cannot see anything in this room. And so I invite you to turn on the lights, to gain visibility into what this trauma is. When you open up, when you turn on the lights, you notice that the room you walked into is in a state of disarray. It's not really all that well organized. There are all manner of objects on the floor, some toys, something that's broken, pieces of broken glass, spilled milk. And then you're wondering, what is this room? And how come it's yours? At one point, something happened that seeing the truth became painful. And somehow it got connected to money. Maybe you saw an opportunity, like a business, and you pursued it. And then a tragic accident happened, and you're like, God, I should have never pursued that opportunity. What the heck? Perhaps you got rich and your family got hurt. Perhaps you build a business, and just like a woman from an example earlier, you saw your ships burn. You saw your hopes burn. Maybe you failed. And that was a big heartache. And then you decided that if you only were to obstruct your own vision, if you only were to stop seeing opportunity but would only see the warning signs everywhere, surely that would never happen to you again. So you chose not to see certain things in front of your eyes. And in some ways, you chose not to pursue money because you created a story of money is evil, money is dangerous, never leads to anything good. And in fact, I don't want to be in contact with it all that much. And so that agreement still remains to this day to some degree. At first, I invite you to start clearing up this room, removing the spilled milk or anything else that needs to be cleaned up. There are shards of glass. By a flick of your finger, everything is reversed and the glass object is new again. Everything around the room starts to be arranged neatly and nicely. So you clean everything up. In a way, it's like doing a deep cleaning of your world or your subconscious. When things are in order, you know what to pay attention to. So once the mess is gone from the room, you notice a wall. And the wall has this block of wood, kind of like, almost like stuck to it. It's as if there was a hole in that wall and somebody tried to patch it up with wood. But really, what this represents is all the ways that you have boarded yourself away from money and the frequency of money and what it brings. This room away, in a way, represents you saying, I actually don't want it. Don't give it to me for whatever reason. I've been there, done that, tried it, didn't like the results. And so this is one of the major blocks that is preventing you from having abundance right now. It's a simple agreement that you have or you had with yourself, where you said, I don't want it. Please take it away, God. So if you are ready to be once and for all done with this agreement between you, yourself, and God, where you specifically asked God to not give you money because you were on your own adventure without it, or without big amounts of it. If you're ready to be done with that, then bit by bit, start removing this wooden contraption on the wall. Opening up what lies underneath. You would notice that once you remove all of the wooden planks, it's just a hole in the wall. And if you say, I am ready to finally receive, I am ready to stop my own flow of abundance, I remove the constrictions. As a sovereign being that I am, I remove any and all barriers between me and money. And you may even notice that there is almost like a layer of film that covers this hole in the wall. So if you remove that layer of film, and for a lot of you, it's going to be either dark gray or black transparent layer of film. If you remove that, all of a sudden you start hearing something. And then this beautiful emerald flow that represents money and abundance streams into the room, filling it up and up. And you're standing there and you're starting to float. And at first it feels for some of you that maybe like money or like this energy is burning your skin. But then you're like, no, actually, it's a false story. I am safe in this. And you realize that indeed you are. And you're just floating on top of these emerald water. And it's the most beautiful emerald, crystalline, perfect. And then it's almost like this room opens up into a broader ocean of emerald. And you are in an ocean of money. And you're swimming in it, up and down, to the sides. And it feels so native. You see, abundance is a native energy to us. It's like a mother's embrace. This is something that is inherently ours. This is something that we always have at soul level until we come into worlds like this one and create trauma for ourselves. Remember, money has never been the culprit. So let it into your body as this emerald stream. Understanding that money is your friend, not a foe, not an enemy. And start rewriting whatever false beliefs you have. If you think money is evil, think again. Because feel this emerald stream from the Mother Divine. It is anything but. In fact, it's a beautiful energy. And just let yourself swim, swim, swim. And feel free to even leave your body here. This ocean is going to be active for the next 24 hours. And it's going to stay with you even as you sleep. As you go to bed tonight, it's going to work with your auric field, readjusting, rearranging itself, calibrating itself so that your body stops perceiving this resource as an enemy. It's here to befriend you. Let it. And with that, you exit the third and final door. And so you stand upon a gilded path. The emerald frequency is inside of you. It's all around you. And as you walk, money flocks to you because you treat it well. You don't try to grasp onto it like a jealous husband or wife, being like, where have you been? Where have you been all this time? No. As it flocks to you, you greet it like an old friend and you tell it, I'm so happy you're here. Thank you. Let's travel together. And so you do, hand in hand. And the more you walk, the more you have. The more you walk, the more you can share with others. And isn't that a joy? Isn't that a joy? Whenever you're ready, feel free to softly, gently start coming back. Allowing yourself to open your eyes when you're ready. Feel free to stretch your back, your shoulders. We've had a lot of activations. Yes, 3:33. Thank you. I know, perfect timing, huh? You may feel like something's changed about your physical body. Usually, like it's that need to stretch because new energies have entered, so your body needs to readjust. So be gentle with yourself. Drink a lot of water. If you fell asleep, but you feel called to complete the journey, you can always come back to the recording. We moved through a lot today, so there's going to be, your body is naturally going to be integrating after this. About 3 days, nothing crazy, because I know some of my work can be integrated for months. This is not going to be months, it's going to be 3 days, and the first 24 hours is going to be probably the most impactful. I hope you guys enjoyed traveling with me. I'm reading your comments as you know, as you're typing them. It's beautiful. There are a lot of abundance meditations on the One Mother app. Enough of them are free if you feel called, not necessarily today, but in the future, to meditate with me, to go into these journeys. There are some available for you. Somebody was like, I cried. Oh, there is a lot. And again, like I don't have a script. And so whatever spirit wants to give us, the spirit gave us. And I hope that you received what you came here to receive. Be gentle with yourself. Drink a lot of water. Drink a lot of water. If you can take a bath at night, that's going to be great. Just because remember, money is water, right? So a bathtub can really help integrate. Trying to think what else. I already told you to be gentle on yourself. Don't expect like too much right away, just from, you know, your physical, because energy work is real. It's invisible, but it's very real. So just go easy on yourself. And if you cried and released, I'm so, so, so happy and so grateful. I do this for you. With all my love. It really means the world that you chose to spend a portion of your Sunday with me. If you can't wait to do more, Thrive is starting on May 30th. It's about a month away, but we're going to be doing a whole lot more journeys with the folks then. I have so much gratitude for you. Sergey, is there anything we need to share with the group in terms of logistics, or do we feel complete?
We feel complete. Yeah. Go to
Okay.
This is Mariya, check out the workshop Thrive.
Yes, and Sergey will send you the link to the recording as soon as it's available. I mean, it takes time for it to upload and stuff. So as soon as we have it, you guys will receive the recording. I have so much love and gratitude for you. I enjoy the rest of your Sunday wherever you are in this world. Big virtual hug to you and yours. And if I don't see you during Thrive, hopefully I'll see you on YouTube or Instagram. Thank you so much, my darlings. With that, we are complete. Just one thing I will say. One thing. Of course, Mariya forgot to thank the archangels for being with us. And I'm gonna just ask the spirit to remove the protections that they have set on us as we were going through the journey, so that we can all go on our merry ways. So we're stepping out of the sacred container. We're very thankful to Archangel Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, to our wonderful dragons, to the Mother Divine who was with us. And I'm thankful for you, my tribe, because I get to spend Sundays with you doing journeys like this. So thank you for your attention and your wonderful, very abundant participation in the chat. I love you more than you know, and I'll see you very soon. With that, I feel complete, and the container feels complete, and we're all getting chills. All right, my darlings, love you so much, and I'll see you soon.